Global evolution. I transplanted the heart of the Supreme God. This video is purely for entertainment and does not infringe on copyrights or laws. The rights to the novel and image belong to the original author. We do not claim ownership. Don't like waiting and want to listen to this fanfic in full now? Subscribe to our Patreon, where you'll find the best fanfics. Chapter 376. Long Live Marshal Fule. 18K thought that Yaoi and Yeezy were quite sensible at first, but later they found that the fire in the royal city could not be controlled. After putting out one place, two more places started to burn. Only then did they realize that Yaoi and Yeezy were pretending to obey but secretly disobeying. The awakened people were very annoyed. The leader of them, Black Hawk, directly approached the two with the help of his teammates' prophecy-type detection ability. Yaoi and Yeezy were immediately in danger. Black Hawk is a typical kite-style hero profession, with fast movement speed, deceleration skills, and extremely high shooting accuracy. He always shoots tricky and deadly arrows at angles that Yaoi and Yeezy cannot defend, slowly and steadily reducing the health of the two. Don't think that the shooter profession has a weak presence in the college championship. That's because they are facing hero professions. When bullying the weak, the agile long-range shooter makes the enemy most desperate. Because of the suppression of attributes and priority, Yaoi and Yeezy, even if they want to fight back, can't touch the corner of Black Hawk's clothes, and can only be suppressed throughout the whole process. It's impossible to run away, and you can't run away. Some of the other awakened helpers that Yaoi had found were afraid of the pressure from 18K and ran away. Some awakened people, like Yaoi, were unwilling to lose this opportunity and were hunted down by 18K members. The number of awakened people hunted by 18K was quickly reduced to only 3, including Yaoi and Yeezy. The 3 awakened people were gasping and guarding in a private house, while Black Hawk was staring at them from above, not allowing them to escape. The 18K awakened people came over one after another, ready to launch a strong attack. Suddenly, Black Hawk's face changed slightly. The other 18K awakened people shouted and cursed. What happened? Did the mission to defend the royal city fail? It's not a failure, it's cancelled. The person who issued the mission, the indigenous leader named Luther, is dead. Fuck, even if we complete the mission, who should we ask for the reward? Amid the chaotic voices, the voice of Steelfile sounded, let's go. Black Hawk was stunned. Where to? Leave Copenhagen. Steelfile said, Sakurako's servants have sent information that the war between the indigenous people on the front battlefield has been decided. Dio Fuhrer used overwhelming force to kill Luther and Rudolf in succession and defeated the Danish army. Now the group of deformed monsters have entered the outer city area. Black Hawk was a little unwilling, then we're just leaving like this. He couldn't swallow this breath. Steelfile knew that Black Hawk wanted to kill Yaoi and the other 3, so he shook his head and said, don't act on impulse. Once we are discovered by those deformed monsters, the team will suffer huge losses. Go to Christian IV. Deliver the information as soon as possible, and there is still a chance to make a comeback. The awakened people of 18K poured out from various areas and fled to the eastern port of Copenhagen. In the residential houses, Yaoi and the other 2 were shocked. All the people in 18K ran away. It was Marshal Fule who defeated the Danes. The idiots of 18K saw that the situation was hopeless and had no time to deal with us, so they could only escape. Long live Marshal Fule. Yaoi and Yeezy escaped from death, and praised loudly with excitement. Early in the morning. The deformed troops have completely occupied various important places in Copenhagen. The gates of the palace were closed, but under the guidance of the Yaoi trio, the deformed quickly rushed into the palace and dragged out all the members of the Danish royal family hiding in the basement. Among them were Queen Anna Katarina of Denmark, and more than a dozen princes and princesses of Christina IV. Queen Anna was a beautiful woman with a lingering charm. You couldn't tell that she was the mother of 6 children. Her waist was as slender as a girl. Who are you? Queen Anna covered the deep V-neck of her dress with one hand, covering her deep cleavage, and looked at Bai Pu nervously. Yaoi shouted, Baga. This is the leader of the Swedish army, Count Scania, the great Marshal Dio Fuhrer. Count Scania. Anna hurriedly said, hello, respected Count. Now my children and I have become your captives, and we promise to obey. Please be kind and preserve the dignity that our nobles deserve. Sorry, I don't believe in the so-called promise. Bai Pu waved his hand, and Yaoi and Yeezy rushed up and tied up Queen Anna and a group of princes and princesses tightly. You are also a noble, Don't you have the dignity of a noble?" Queen Anna was pushed to the ground and said in a shrill voice. "I have to say that Yaoi is really good at tying up women." The ropes passed through Queen Anna's armpits and neck symmetrically, and then wrapped around her torso, highlighting Queen Anna's bulging parts very well. Other princes and princesses are not so well developed, so Yaoi's tying is much more normal, without the artistic sense of Queen Anna's tying. Noble dignity. Bai Pu shook his head. "War is not decent, Mom. When your husband led his army to harass the Swedish grain ship route and plunged millions of Swedish civilians into famine, it was destined that one of us could not retain our dignity. I can only guarantee that you will not die in the mouths of the deformed, and your innocence will not be tarnished, that's all. Not killing the royal family members is because they are still useful. Not insulting their innocence is Bai Pu's moral bottom line." Bai Pu ordered several deformed people to guard the royal family members, and then he had time to meet the awakened person brought by Yaoi and Yizi. The awakened person, codenamed Bevan, was able to get in touch with the Swedish high-level officials. This was a rare opportunity for him. He was naturally very grateful to the introducers, Yaoi and Yizi, here referring to the spiritual energy points of gratitude. Yaoi and Yizi actually just shared the side quest step 2, the riot in the royal city with Baffin and others. It didn't take much effort to do this, but they made a small profit. Bai Pu agreed to share this side quest, the riot in the royal city, with other awakened people. In the words of the indigenous people, it was to let Yaoi and Yizi find more adventurer partners. The reason for agreeing to do this was that Bai Pu was worried that there were too few people and they would not be able to harass the royal city. Yaoi and others completed the task well. A large part of the reason why the morale of the Danes collapsed was that their homes were burned down and their families were threatened with life. In this situation, the Danish soldiers only wanted to escape back and rescue their families for refuge. There were only a few soldiers who really burned their boats and wanted to compete with the deformed ones to see who was more ruthless. Yaoi received a prompt. Side quest step 2, the riot in the royal city has been completed. Your reputation in the Swedish Imperial Army camp has increased by 300 points, and your merit points have increased by 100. The Swedish Imperial Army commander, Count Diofur of Scania, has increased his favorability towards you. The current favorability level is 600/1000, friendly. Chapter 377. We decided to cross the sea and return to our hometown. Yizi and Ba Fang, the two awakened ones, also received a prompt that the task was completed. Ba Fang even received a prompt message that you have officially joined the Swedish Imperial Army. The only pity is that the three are now in Zealand Island. The accumulated merit points of the Swedish Imperial Army cannot be redeemed for the time being. They can only wait until the war is over and cross the Øresund Strait to Sweden to cash in the benefits. The three awakened ones are very entangled at this time. Obviously, the capture of Copenhagen is only the initial plan of this young commander with great talent and strategy. There will be a big war next, which is a good opportunity to gain merit. So should we stay and continue to accumulate merit points, and then exchange for a big wave, or should we take the bag and go to Sweden to exchange the existing merits for items? The three people discussed quietly, and at the same time, with a trace of awe in their eyes, they looked at the Danish royal court from time to time. Sitting on the throne of the king in the Danish royal court is Marshal Diofur. Little did they know that at this time, Marshal Diofur was also receiving prompt messages from the will of the spirit world. Main task step 1, the lifeline at sea has been completed. You have obtained the blood of the wild lion. Your reputation in the Swedish Imperial Army has increased by 1000, and your current reputation level is Worship 13150/10000. The completion of the main mission 1 means that the shipping routes in the southeastern waters of Sweden have been restored. This shows that the Danish King Christian IV has received the intelligence that the royal city has been attacked, has given up harassing Sweden's maritime trade routes, and is leading the navy to come. In Bai Pu's mind, a sea chart of the western Baltic Sea automatically appeared. It not only contained basic information such as the sailing distance and the basic speed of the ship, but also included the direction of the ocean currents, the wind speed in the past 2 days and other hydrological information. The time for Christian IV's naval fleet to arrive at the port of Copenhagen was immediately apparent in Bai Pu's calculations. About 10 hours and 7 minutes. Considering the leader's mobilization ability and the well-trained level of the Danish Navy, the error will not exceed 30 minutes. Bai Pu glanced at the three awakeners who were still outside the palace. He raised his hand and opened several treasure chests obtained in this battle. There were 2 gold treasure chests and 4 or 5 blue treasure chests. The blue treasure chests basically took out some sundries. One of the treasure chests contained a blue shield, which was a small surprise. Luther's golden treasure chest had a chance to draw, and he drew a book of swordsmanship experience. Triangle Swordsmanship Draft, a draft that records Luther's one-handed swordsmanship experience. After understanding it, your one-handed swordsmanship proficiency can be slightly increased. Based on the user's comprehension, when you are promoted to level 7 one-handed swordsmanship expertise, it is possible to open a rare special effect option. The current number of remaining insights: 3/3. This slightly wrinkled little book should be the essence of the swordsmanship of the leader Luther. This book is of no use to Bai Pu and Blood Spider. At most, it saves some time to practice the one-handed swordsmanship expertise. With a holy thorn, imitation, some one-handed swordsmanship proficiency can be practiced in a few days. As for the one-handed swordsmanship specialty of the advanced level 7, Blood Spider already had it. Bai Pu didn't need it either, as he already had the special effect of the two-handed swordsmanship specialty level 7, Strong Wind. Even if he didn't reach the advanced level 7, Bai Pu didn't need the rare special effect provided by this thing. Because he had comprehended the 2 great mysteries, when he was promoted, he would definitely choose the special effect of the mystery to help himself further comprehend the mystery. This is the bad thing about being ahead of the times. Some of the good things produced by the intermediate spirit world can no longer meet the needs of Bai Pu and Blood Spider. Bai Pu then opened the treasure chest of Iron Wall Rudolph. As a strengthened leader, Rudolph's treasure chest is larger and has 2 draw times. Bai Pu started to draw directly. The first time he drew a golden strengthening crystal, which was considered to be quite satisfactory. The second time, it was shining with golden light, and he directly drew a piece of equipment. Iron Wall Knee Pad, encapsulated, equipment quality, heroic level, gold, equipment location, legs, equipment requirements, basic strength 30, basic endurance 30, attributes, leg armor plus 30, fixed reduction of 15 points of physical damage, strength plus 3, stamina plus 5, additional skill 1, stability, passive, the wearer gains a 20-point bonus to strength when passively judging strength, additional skill 2, endurance, passive, the wearer's energy consumption is reduced by 15%, with a maximum single reduction of 15 points, durability 50/60, description, this is a plain piece of equipment, but Rudolph loves it very much, what a good thing. Bai Pu took a quick glance and immediately perked up. The additional attributes are quite standard for gold equipment. The first additional skill is a bonus, because it adds the passive power judgment, that is, the power judgment of Bai Pu's defense when others try to knock him away or repel him. If the power judgment during active attack is increased, and it is superimposed with Tyrant Blow, it would be too fierce. Unfortunately, there is no if. The real value lies in the second additional skill, energy consumption is reduced by 15%. You know, the biggest distress of the intermediate awakeners who have comprehended the secret is that they do not have enough energy compared to ordinary intermediate awakeners. Because they not only consume energy when casting skills, but also consume energy to increase the power when casting the secret attack. For example, Bai Pu's Mountain Collapse secret is currently at the advanced level. He goes all out to cast the Mountain Collapse, and 70 points of Blood River Fighting Spirit will burst out at a time. If the recovery of Fighting Spirit is not considered, Bai Pu will use the Mountain Collapse secret 10 times in a battle, and his Fighting Spirit will dry up. After putting on this equipment, Bai Pu used his full strength to perform the secret of collapsing mountains, and the loss was reduced to 60 points, equivalent to saving 10 points of Fighting Spirit energy each time it was used. There is also the Blood River territory, which consumes a lot of mana. Although the saving ratio of this equipment is not high, it adds up to a lot, and can also allow Bai Pu to open the Blood River territory for a longer time. Bai Pu did not hesitate to replace the original Basalt Guard leggings with this Iron Wool knee pads. The existing +6 damage reduction effect is not as good as the value of the Iron Wool knee pads itself. At this time, the 3 awakeners have entered the palace, and it seems that they have already discussed the result. Lord Diofur, we have decided to cross the sea and return to our hometown. As Swedes, we have been wandering outside for a long time. I hope that you can write a letter of recommendation so that after we return to our hometown, we can also join the army and contribute to our motherland. Yayoi said on behalf of the three. Their apparent identities were Swedes away from home. This was of course made up. The moral bottom line of the Awaken was more flexible, and their hometowns could change at any time. If they met King Christian, they would be Danes born and raised on Zealand Island. If you're listening to this novel on a channel other than Fanfic World, it means they downloaded and uploaded it without effort. We cordially invite you to visit our channel, Mundo Fanfic Novelis. There you'll find the original version of this story and you can explore many other novels of various genres. We're waiting for you to immerse yourself in a world of incredible novels. Chapter 378. Let me see your determination. Letter of recommendation? No problem. Bai Pu said with a smile. However, if you want to serve the country, staying in Copenhagen is the best choice. Bai Pu was right. Instead of going back to Sweden to get familiar with the leader again, it is better to follow the big leader in front of you. Copenhagen is the main battlefield between Sweden and Denmark, and a war will break out next. Besides, Bai Pu's identity is already the commander-in-chief of the Swedish Imperial Army, the highest officer. Following Bai Pu's side will definitely have better development prospects than returning to Sweden. Of course, the three of them also knew this, and this was the point of their argument just now. But as awakened people, they can only consider the immediate interests. They don't have much time to stay in this world. If they can't cash in the merit points in time, what should they do if they are targeted by the indigenous strongmen on the dangerous battlefield? Without the return props, they can only accumulate a lot of merit points and be killed. I'm sorry, Marshal. We want to go back to our hometown to take a look. The awakened Banfang said. Okay. During this battle, I looted a book of swordplay from the enemy. The swordplay experience inside is of no use to me. I wanted to pass it on to you, but now it seems that there is no chance. Bai Pu raised his hand and showed the triangle swordplay draft. The eyes of the three awakened people were immediately straight. Brother Yayoi, isn't this the combat skills experience of the indigenous people? It is said that this kind of item can make the combat expertise of the awakened people break through the shackles and directly advance to level 7. Yeezy said in a low voice. Calm down, Yeezy. Yayoi shook his head gently. The description of this swordplay draft is very clear. It can only help us obtain rare special effects when we are promoted to level 7 expertise. It cannot directly advance our combat expertise to level 7. For an intermediate awakener, obtaining a combat expertise that is directly promoted to level 7 is of great significance. The rare special effects are also very good. Even Bevan, who insisted on leaving, couldn't help but say, this Marshal Diofur must have the ability to guide us. If we can get his guidance, perhaps we can trigger the test task of directly upgrading our combat expertise to level 7. Shouldn't we leave? The three awakened people looked at each other, exchanged glances, and then Yayoi spoke again and bowed. Marshal. We were too stupid just now, we are very sorry. We discussed again and decided to stay in Copenhagen and follow the path of the Marshal. Please allow us to continue to serve you. Bai Pu was not surprised. As an awakened person, no one knows better than Bai Pu how to control the awakened. But didn't you say that you have been wandering outside for too long and want to go back to your hometown to take a look? Bai Pu hesitated. Your staying here will not play a big role in the battle situation, so why not go back? The situation reversed. Yayoi said excitedly, Marshal, we admit that we are at a disadvantage in the operation to destroy Copenhagen. Fortunately, you defeated the Danish army in time, so we completed the task. However, we also have great potential that has not yet been tapped. Please believe in our determination for the motherland, give us the most difficult tasks to complete, and guarantee that we will not fail our mission. Bai Pu believed this. After all, these three people are all level 6 awakeners. Although they are only elite templates, how could they not have some hidden treasures when they reach this level? If they don't put some pressure on them, these three people will definitely not be willing to use them. Bai Pu smiled and nodded, and said, okay. Then let me see your determination. The eastern port of Copenhagen. The Royal Danish Shipyard. The leader guarding the shipyard is a level 6 enhanced elite, respected by the shipbuilders as General Marizzi. Of course, he is called Whip Marizzi behind his back, because the strict work system formulated by Marizzi whips the shipbuilders like a whip, and he keeps building ships for the Danish Navy. Danish soldiers who fled here one after another brought bad news. General Merizi pieced together the news from the fleeing soldiers and got a general process of the incident. General Rudolph is so powerful, but he was defeated by Diofur. Merizi was uneasy, and now he just hoped that the legendary Diofur would not come here. At the same time, Merizi used magic props to ask the king for help, looking forward to His Majesty the King leading the powerful Danish navy back to hang the daring Diofur on the mast. No one went to work in the shipyard in the morning. Merizi, who has always been strict, did not urge people to work. At this time when people are panicking, it is not appropriate to start a war. The whole shipyard was silent, with only a few ship workers hiding in the living area and secretly discussing, not daring to show their heads. The tree wants to be quiet, but the wind does not stop. In the morning, a huge flame rose over the shipyard. Yaoi, Yizi and Ba Fang, 3 awakened people, led a group of agile distorted monsters and rushed into the royal shipyard. To be precise, the distorted monsters were responsible for killing, and they were responsible for setting fires. This group of elite distorted monsters had no mercy or compassion, whether to the enemy or to themselves. They ruthlessly tore apart all the living things in front of them, fully implementing the instructions of Yaoi and the other 2. Good guy, this royal shipyard was actually broken by us, Ba Fang said with emotion. In the past, with the elite strength of the 3 people, how could they dare to provoke the royal Danish shipyard? However, exchanging these 20 distorted monsters clock predators has consumed all the merit points of the 3 of us. We must complete this task beautifully and grab the maximum profit at the same time. Yaoi clearly remembered the investment of the 3 of them. In total, a total of 200 merit points were used to exchange for distorted monsters. Marshal Diofule agreed to let them exchange for the clock predators at a super low price of 10% off. But the exchanged clock predator also has an additional restriction, and must make the completion of the destroying the shipyard mission the first priority. At the same time, enemies attacked by the clock predator will not drop any items. This is a balance made by the will of the spirit world. Yaoi felt like taking a loan to work. However, Yaoi and the other 2 soon found an opportunity. 20 clock predators attacked the factory area like a whirlwind, and under the guidance of the 3 awakened ones, they went straight to the dock where the leader who guarded this place, Merizi, was. Merizi wanted to escape by boat, but was blocked by the 3 awakened ones. The clock predator helped them deal with the supervisor soldiers under Merizi. The Yaoi trio was able to surround and kill the enhanced elites head-on. This is the benefit that the 3 of them can get. As long as they get Merizi's enhanced elite treasure box, this hard trip is worth it. Chapter 379 The advantage is mine. On the dark blue sea, a fleet was sailing. On the bow of the flagship Trinity, Christian IV stood with a gloomy face, looking west. This was their sailing direction, and also the direction of Copenhagen. Unhold, tell me, where is that place with thick smoke in front? Christian IV's words revealed his unconcealed anger. Your Majesty, the port of Copenhagen is ahead, and the place where the fire started is the royal dockyard. General Onholt behind him was wearing fine chainmail and had a serious face. Died Fjord. Christian IV shouted angrily, I will make you pay with blood. The royal dockyard, the result of Christian IV's hard work, carried his dream of building a Danish navy, dominating the Baltic Sea and even the Atlantic Ocean. However, it was burned down at this moment. Your Majesty, we should send some scouts to investigate first. Steelfile and Blackhawk whispered beside him. There is no time. The royal shipyard is burning. That is my life's work. I must save it. This is the disadvantage of not having a high reputation and not having a high favorability. Even if the 2 leaders of 18K, Steelfile and Blackhawk, are full of suggestions, it is difficult for the natives to adopt them. Christian IV ordered to advance at full speed. The Danish navy quickly rushed to the port and the king landed with his troops. What the king saw was the royal shipyard burned into ruins and the body of General Merizi. It's still a step too late. Christian IV was heartbroken. He looked up at the royal city of Copenhagen and gave the second order, the whole army advances and reclaims our homeland. The awakened people of 18K tried to persuade the king to calm down, but they were insignificant and their words were as weak as a thin spider web in front of the red-eyed king. In fact, Christian IV's old nest was destroyed and his wife and children were all captured by the enemy. It would be difficult for any man to calm down in this situation. Especially when seeing the tragic situation of the shipyard, it is easy to think of the Copenhagen Palace, The death of Marizi and some supervisory soldiers makes Christian IV think of the desperate situation that his queen and children may face. This is Bai Pu's psychological tactic. The purpose is to make Christian IV lose his judgment, stay away from the Danish naval warships anchored in the port, and land to fight. As long as the battlefield becomes land, it will be the home of the deformed. Steel File and Blackhawk discussed it and put forward the last suggestion, which is to send people to guard the ship. Your Majesty, Defias is a very cunning guy. When he captured the royal city of Copenhagen, he sent a small force to set fire to the royal city to affect the fighting will of the guards. Now you go to find his main force for a decisive battle, and you must prevent him from repeating the same trick. As long as Christian IV is not blocked, the king is still willing to accept some reasonable suggestions. However, the decision made by the Aborigines accepting the suggestions may not satisfy the awakened 100%. Christian IV said directly, "You are right, let your adventure group patrol the warships to prevent the enemy from destroying our ships. I will give you limited command authority." The so-called limited command authority is limited to the soldiers guarding the ships left by Christian IV, and the scope of authority is limited to helping the 18K team complete the combat mission of guarding the ships. Black Hawk, Steel File and others were bitter. Compared with guarding the ships and waiting for enemies that may or may not appear, participating in the war is the way to get the most benefits. But the king's decision has been made, and these adventurers loyal to the Danish motherland cannot disobey orders, and can only leave in a bad mood. Christian IV led the army to the royal city of Copenhagen and entered the streets of the main city. Fortunately, although there were signs of destruction here, the scope was not large. Most of the residents hid in houses and cellars, and there was no large-scale massacre. This is what Christian IV was most worried about. Your Majesty, it seems that Defias still has some noble moral qualities and did not indulge the deformed to kill wantonly. Anhalt said. Christian IV did not speak. He looked up and looked ahead. At the end of the street in the main city, Bai Pu rode a horse, and the deformed army behind him lined up neatly. King Christian, in order to save your soldiers from bleeding, how about a fair duel? Bai Pu said loudly, better honor, our duel will end with one of us dead. No one is allowed to interfere. Anhalt replied on behalf of the king, Defias. You are just a small earl, you are not qualified to challenge our king. Really? Then add the release of Queen Anna, and the freedom of a group of princes and princesses. I, a small earl, don't know if I can have the same weight as the king. Bai Pu waved his hand, and the formation of the deformed separated. Christian IV's eyes suddenly turned red. Sitting on the ground withered, it was his Queen Anna and his children. Foule. You use women and children as a threat. Do you still have the dignity of a noble? Anhalt shouted. Bai Pu smiled. You use the trade line of Swedish grain ships as a threat, and you don't care about the millions of Swedish civilians who may starve to death. Compared with me, which one is more important? Anhalt glanced at the king. Under the current circumstances, it is not appropriate for the king to make a choice. Anhalt said coldly, our military strength is 3 times that of yours. The advantage is mine. Defias, His Majesty the King will not be coerced by you. Everyone charged suddenly. Anhalt's voice stopped. He heard many neat footsteps. From both sides of the city streets, 2 Swedish deformed armies ran over at some point. On the left is Gawain, the former guardian knight of the Queen of the Swedish Empire. On the right is General Goodwin, the former general of the Blood Ring fortress known as the Cutthroat. The more than 1,000 deformed people that Bai Pu had just recruited were indeed a little weak, but with the army led by Gawain and Goodwin, they were no less powerful than the Danish army. Behind Bai Pu, there was actually the Queen Mother of Sweden, Jin, who was covered in a cloak. However, Jin was still in charge of the overall situation in Stockholm, the capital of Sweden, and it was not easy for her to show up. This was the second step of the plan. In public and private, Jin would never let Bai Pu face the whole country of Denmark alone. Bai Pu had previously been like a scalpel, secretly and accurately stabbing the heart of the Kingdom of Denmark and occupying Copenhagen. This was a place that the enemy had to save, forcing the Danish navy to give up its advantage at sea and set the battlefield on land, which was beneficial to the deformed army. After the strategic goal was achieved, the subsequent forces of the Swedish Empire would naturally continue to flow in through Magma. After all, the Øresund Strait was only a few kilometers wide, and there was no need for batches of warships to transport troops. Civilian fishing boats were enough. Now, your troops no longer have an absolute advantage. King Christian, make a choice for your family. Bai Pu said loudly. In fact, Bai Pu didn't care if a chaotic battle started now. He proposed a duel just because he didn't want other people's attacks to contaminate King Christian's treasure chest. Chapter 380, The Power of Asrat. Bai Pu chose to challenge, in addition to the quality of the treasure chest, and also to hone himself. In a life and death battle with a master, whether it is combat expertise, skill proficiency, or the accumulation of proficiency in the secret, all of them grow very fast. This point was verified as early as the college competition. I accept your challenge. Christian IV finally spoke. His voice was as cold as the glaciers in the Arctic Ocean. Dio Fury. I swear with this ancestral axe that I will chop you into pieces and throw you into the Baltic Sea to feed the sharks. Christian jumped off his horse, took the initiative to walk forward along the street, came to the open space 100 meters in front of Bai Pu, and made a provocative gesture. Bang! With a loud bang, the heavy blood-colored double-edged axe fell to the ground, smashing a deep dent, and dust scattered. Qin whispered, "Be careful, this guy is very strong." The axe in his hand is called Asrat, and it is a weapon passed down from generation to generation by his Viking ancestors. With this axe, Christian's strength is close to that of Emperor Gustav. Qin used soul enlightenment to obtain some information about Christian and send it to Bai Pu. Christian IV, Enhanced Leader Level 6, Power of Asrat, Race, Humanoid Human, Profession, Viking Berserker Leader, Attributes, Strength 90 plus 20, Agility 90, Endurance 60, Spirit 40, Skills 1-4, Berserk, Pain Accumulation, Spiral Slash, Earthquake Wave, Power of Asrat, Enhanced Effect, Strength plus 20, only 4 skills. Bai Pu narrowed his eyes and had several different guesses in his mind. Are you scared? Christian IV certainly sensed that he was being spied on, stared coldly at Bai Pu, and issued a further provocation. Bai Pu smiled and said, "Since you don't ride a horse, I'll choose to fight on foot." Bai Pu jumped off his horse, holding a shield in one hand and a chainsaw sword in the other, and strode towards the King of Denmark. There was no referee to announce the start of the duel between the two supreme commanders, and no one was qualified to arbitrate. After the two men approached each other at a distance of 20 meters, they bent down almost at the same time and sprinted towards each other, with large clouds of smoke and dead leaves rising from their feet, forming two dragon-like tails. Ling. The chainsaw sword and Asrat's battle axe collided with a loud bang, and a circle of sonic boom spread with the airwaves, and the windows of the surrounding houses burst one after another. Although the King of Denmark had the powerful gain of Power of Asrat, Bai Pu still did not lose in the power confrontation. You know, for the sake of safety, he chose the defensive sword and shield posture, and did not choose the strongest output posture of holding the sword with both hands. This fight, Bai Pu has a bottom line. If I hold the sword with both hands, taking into account the effect of strong wrist, I will definitely be able to suppress Christian IV in terms of strength. However, the King of Denmark is an enhanced leader with both strength and agility. In addition to his strength being no less than Bai Pu, his agility is much stronger than Bai Pu. After the weapons collided, he immediately slid and dodged, and the battle axe pressed down along the wide surface of the sword, and then chopped Bai Pu's chin with a counteraxe. Bai Pu took a step back. Christian IV stepped forward to attack, but saw a phantom of a blood river rushing in front of him. His figure suddenly became extremely heavy, and the originally smooth attack movements also became sluggish. The battle axe was blocked by the dark gold shield. Bai Pu's backhand sword was wrapped in a blood-colored strong wind and bombarded, using the speed increase brought by the strong wind secret, as well as the opponent's movement speed limit brought by the blood river territory. For a time, the battle with the King of Denmark was inseparable. It's a pity. Although the Danish king is strong, his strength is mainly reflected in his comprehensive attributes. He has no understanding of the secrets. The battle lasted for more than 10 rounds, and Bai Pu had already figured out Christian IV's background. With a loud bang, Bai Pu threw out his shield and changed to holding the sword with both hands. Are you looking for death? Christian IV avoided the shock wave of the shield and was puzzled. What bothered him most was the dark gold tower shield in Bai Pu's hand. The defense was too comprehensive. The attack of the battle axe was often blocked by the shield. It was just like a turtle shell. Now that Bai Pu took the initiative to throw down the tower shield, he was happy and worried. The reason why Bai Pu threw out the shield was also very simple. He didn't want to drag it on. Although the addition of iron wool knee pads can reduce energy loss, The Blood River territory is still a big mana consumer. The Danish king in front of him is not a reinforced leader with endurance specialties. Bai Pu plans to make a quick decision. The active effect of the Skin of Steel was activated, and the adaptive evolution, Keratin Skin, was turned on at the same time. Bai Pu took a hard blow from Christian IV's battle axe. With a clang, the battle axe slid away from Bai Pu's waist, as if it had hit a layer of cowhide covered with steel. The terrifying blow that could originally cut a person in half fell on Bai Pu, leaving only a streak of blood, and blood spilled out. Christian IV felt a pain in his arms. It seemed that at the moment when he hit Bai Pu, a piercing energy surged into his body, ignoring his defense and causing slight damage inside his body. Christian IV did not believe in evil, and chopped with another axe vertically, pointing directly at Bai Pu's head. Bai Pu's body was just slightly off by a few inches, and the axe chopped on Bai Pu's shoulder, leaving only a blood mark, and the expected serious injury of bone fracture did not occur. At the same time, Christian IV felt pain in his arms again, and the piercing energy surged again, and his body stiffened slightly. This is Bai Pu's Skin of Steel, Level 4 special effect, Thorn Skin. While activating the active effect and reducing physical damage, it can also cause a certain amount of real damage rebound to the target. The real damage rebounded is nothing. When masters fight, the stinging sensation caused by the rebound damage will disrupt the opponent's attack rhythm. After accumulation, it can even form a certain stiffness. This is the key. Bai Pu took 2 axes, but his body did not move at all. In the unbelievable eyes of Christian IV, he held the chainsaw sword with both hands and slashed out. Weapon additional skill, cutting activated. In fact, when Bai Pu possessed the secret of collapsing mountains, the additional cutting skill of Blood Mist Butcher's chainsaw sword had already appeared duplicated. The secret of collapsing mountains can damage the target's armor by itself. The only benefit of the additional cutting skill is that it can save the energy consumption of the secret of collapsing mountains. Hissing. The chainsaw blade rotated at a high frequency, and Christian IV's golden armor was cut open. At the same time, the wind-seeking special effect was activated with repeated cutting. Bai Pu used a sword to reverse and cut a crisscross cross-shaped crack in Christian IV's golden armor. Blood flew out along with the fragments of armor. Bai Pu relied on his own high defense to take the damage, creating a first-hand advantage in his favor and giving the Danish king a hard blow. Then a series of attacks beat the Danish king back again and again, and the giant axe was a little overwhelmed. Damn it, witness the true power of Asrat. Christian IV roared, separated his hands, and the giant axe suddenly split into 2 one-handed axes. He was wrapped in a rich blood-colored whirlwind, and the soul shadow of the Viking ancestors could be vaguely seen roaring in it. Even Bai Pu's Blood River territory, the restrictions on him were offset by more than half. Chapter 381 Run. Christian IV's inherited weapon, Asrat's inherited skill, Blessing of the Viking Ancestors is activated. Blessing of the Viking Ancestors, released the blood energy accumulated in Asrat for hundreds of years, forming a large-scale ancestral force field. Christian IV will be blessed by the power of the ancestors, and the damage caused will be increased by an additional 30%. Single additional damage does not exceed 300 points. Christian IV's buff state, Asrat's power disappeared. Christian IV has obtained a new buff state, Asrat's speed, and gained new combat skills. The soul of the Viking ancestor is roaring, and Bai Pu's Blood River territory, under the confrontation with the ancestral force field, the deceleration effect imposed on Christian IV was also offset by 75%. And Asrat's power became Asrat's speed, and Christian IV's agility officially broke through 110 points. This sturdy king, like a big, sturdy and agile tabby cat, danced with his 2 axes around Bai Pu, and the 2 axes drew dazzling blood-red ripples. Boom! In Bai Pu's body, genes were fused and pure blood was infused. His aura suddenly increased. You cheat, and I cheat too. With a bonus of pure blood, Bai Pu's agility attribute has climbed to 68 points. In the state of full strength attack, strong wind, and Swedish Royal Agility Ring, each increased the attack speed by 15 points, and the cumulative attack speed increased by 30 points. Calculated, Bai Pu's attack speed is close to the 100-point mark. It is not much different from the Danish king's 110 points of agility. But you have to know that the Danish king has lost the 20-point strength increase of power of Asrat at this time. Bai Pu's strength judgment at this time is 30 or 40 points stronger than him. What's more, Bai Pu has temporarily advanced to level 9 two-handed swordsmanship under gene fusion. Strong against strong. Ling. Ling. The chainsaw blade and the double axe collided fiercely, and Bai Pu could accurately find the landing point of the two-handed axe every time. The great force generated by the collision of weapons made the Danish king tremble every time, and his body was stiffened by Bai Pu's powerful force, and the bloody dance stopped naturally. This is a strong basic attribute and crushing combat skills, which broke the opponent's skills abruptly. This brings great advantages. Bai Pu only paid the physical energy of ordinary attacks, but the opponent paid the energy consumption of casting skills, the vacuum of skills falling into cooling, and the backlash stiffness caused by the interruption of skills. While the Danish king was in a state of stiffness and sluggish movements, Bai Pu stepped forward and slapped his sword horizontally, swinging left and right. Christian IV's double axes separated uncontrollably to the left and right, revealing an empty door. The shadow of the giant crocodile appeared behind him. Bai Pu activated the critical hit bonus of the accessories, followed up with a step, and the hilt of the sword hit the Danish king's abdomen, hitting him. He kicked out lightly, turned around and hit the waist with a sword, and then kicked the sword back. Bai Pu's movements were as smooth and beautiful as flowing water, constantly expanding Christian IV's flaws and reducing his health. At the same time, he continued to add combo points to Christian IV. This is the rare special effect, combo, of Bai Pu's advanced combat level 7. Each combo point will increase the damage of the final blow by 5%. Not good. Attack. On-Hol was a pragmatist. Seeing the king in crisis, he ignored the agreement of the two sides to fight and blew the charge horn directly. However, the Danish soldiers knew that this was a duel. Let them charge now? The treacherous behavior made it difficult to boost the morale of the Danish soldiers. Originally, their homes were burned down, and these Danish naval soldiers were like a mourning army, and their fighting will was very strong. Now they have to make a discount. The Danes who didn't keep their promises. Goodwin the Throat Slasher and Gawain the Guardian Knight ordered a charge at the same time. The deformed troops and the Danish soldiers started a bloody battle on the long street. On-Hol didn't care and rushed to rescue his king. Bai Pu sneered. At this time, his combo points had accumulated a full 5 points, and the Danish king's health had been knocked down by nearly half by the continuous critical hits. Bai Pu slightly accumulated strength, and the shadow of the mountain condensed on the blade of the chainsaw sword. As Bai Pu swung it down, the mountain collapsed. Christian IV's body suddenly stiffened, and a bloodline went from his forehead to his chest and abdomen. The next second, the mountain collapse secret broke out, and the bloodline exploded as if explosives were buried, almost blowing Christian IV's body into 2 pieces. On-Hol wiped his face dully. The king's blood and minced meat slowly slid down On-Hol's face. Christian IV, the king of Denmark, was killed by the commander of the Swedish Imperial Army, Defies, in the Battle of Copenhagen. The king was killed in a fair duel, which could not form any morale bonus for the Danish soldiers. And On-Hol's act of breaking the agreement and disrupting the duel was not to mention, a pure negative blow to morale. So under the attack of the ruthless Aberrant Legion, the Danish soldiers were defeated very quickly. Bai Pu picked up the king's treasure chest and put it into the storage space. This scene made an awakened person hiding among the Danish soldiers open his eyes wide. This person was one of the leaders of the 18K team, Blackhawk. After the 18K team accepted the task of guarding the ship, Blackhawk was obsessed with the possible benefits of the main battlefield, so he agreed with Steelfile to split into 2 groups. Steelfile led people to guard the ship, and Blackhawk sneaked into the battlefield with a melee power teammate. Just when On-Hol ordered the charge, Blackhawk also shot arrows with some Danish archers to try to rescue the king. But the blood-red shield wrapped around Bai Pu turned this effort into nothing. When Blackhawk saw Bai Pu kill the Danish king and the treasure chest exploded, he felt that his cognition was overturned. Is Defies an awakener? Run. Blackhawk did not dare to stay and fled among the Danish fleeing soldiers. Regardless of whether Defies was an awakener or an aboriginal, his overwhelming strength was real, and Blackhawk knew that he was no match for him. More importantly, Blackhawk could still create an information gap when facing the aboriginal strongman and use the forced attachment prop to escape. But facing an awakener of equal strength, Blackhawk dared not be arrogant. If he angered the other party, he would die if he was tied up with a bloody prop. However, a majestic blue light flashed, and Blackhawk suddenly felt that the space around him condensed. Steelheart used the authority of Lieutenant Blackiron to suppress your rank. Your rank is Sergeant. Suppression is effective. Within 600 seconds, you cannot use any props related to space ability. Damn it, the battlefield is so chaotic. How did he find me? This was the last thought in Black Hawk's mind. Chapter 382, Eyes on the Mirror. Bai Pu knew that there were enemy awakeners present. Because when Anhalt ordered the charge, the impatient Black Hawk shot a sting arrow first, leaving a reminder like, you are attacked by the awakened Black Hawk's combat skill Sting. You can defend Black Hawk and his teammates, in Bai Pu's combat information record. Black Hawk worked so hard because the Danish king was very important to the 18K team. Black Hawk did not seek to kill Bai Pu. As long as he could interrupt Bai Pu's movements and save the king, it would be a great achievement. But Bai Pu was not disturbed by the arrows. The volcanic shield spreading on his body absorbed the damage of long-range attacks, and his own heavy armor mastery and other passive abilities to resist retreat also made Black Hawk's sting ineffective, and only a layer of ripples was created on the surface of the shield. Black Hawk was confused and didn't know why Bai Pu could accurately find him among a group of Danish fleeing soldiers. This was also normal. Logically speaking, in such a chaotic battlefield, even if someone else was attacked, it would be difficult to lock the attacker. But Bai Pu was different. He had a strong observation and brain power of eyes to the mirror. After killing the Danish king, he just closed his eyes for a few seconds to recall the direction from which the arrow came. Then he opened his eyes and found Black Hawk accurately among a group of fleeing soldiers by the different strides and speeds of Black Hawk and others. For Bai Pu, there would be no senseless killing, but as long as the awakened person provokes him, Bai Pu will never hold back. Black Hawk only felt the phantom of the collapse of the mountain in front of him suppressing his mind, and for a moment even his thoughts could not function. The next second, Black Hawk's body was pulled by a strong force and quickly dragged towards Bai Pu. Lasso strike. Bai Pu raised his hand and swung his sword, slashing at Black Hawk's head. Your item J2 failed to release control, insufficient priority, and the control time is reduced by 1.5 seconds. The remaining control time is 1 second. Your Lotus shield is invalid. Your Iron Rhino armor plate is invalid. You received 1,126 points of sharp damage, which is more than 1/3 of your total health, triggering the beheading settlement. You are dead. Black Hawk's head rolled down without splashing a single drop of water on the battlefield. In the eyes of the indigenous soldiers, it was just another wronged soul under Diofulai's sword. The only one who was shocked was the melee power teammate Shijian brought by Black Hawk. How could it be? Deputy Captain Black Hawk is equipped with life-saving equipment and props, and his survivability is not worse than that of a deputy tank like me, but he was dragged over and killed with one knife. Shijian slowed down his pace, not even daring to use the acceleration skill of his shoes, and ran forward with the Danish fleeing soldiers. However, the next moment, Shijian suddenly felt a huge threat surging behind him. Must dodge. If you don't dodge, you will die. A layer of cocky rock light suddenly rose from Shijian's body, and he pounced forward, making a standard tactical evasive action. Above Shijian's head, a sharp and terrifying blood-red sword energy swept across. The radius of the blood-red sword energy reached 7 or 8 meters, directly clearing the battlefield of more than 10 meters in front of Bai Pu. Next to Shijian, there were some Danish soldiers who were dismembered and cut in half, and the blood gathered into a river. Shijian knew that he had been exposed, so he got up and fled madly. However, a blood-red wave energy as cold as a snake quietly wrapped around his ankle and then penetrated into his body. Shijian's heart seemed to be grasped by an invisible big hand, and his eyes went black and he fell over. Qin took action. She now knew that capturing hostile awakeners could help Bai Pu squeeze out extra benefits. Sure enough, there are accomplices of Black Hawk. It seems that this guy did not force himself to leave the prop. Bai Pu looked at the unconscious Shijian and thought to himself. The army of deformers chased the Danish soldiers, and the loyal Danish general Anhalt was also killed by the cutthroat Goodwin and the guardian knight Garwain. Because of the Blood River territory, Bai Pu also got some kills and contributions. Although he didn't get a treasure chest, he at least got an extra gene fragment of Anhalt. After the job change, Bai Pu's cornerstone talent gene fragments no longer collects elite templates, but only collects templates of leaders and above. Each gene fragment is very precious. Qin came to Bai Pu's side quietly. Dio, You are getting stronger and stronger. I didn't expect you to be able to destroy a country by yourself. It's incredible. Qin whispered. Compared to the last time we separated, my strength has indeed improved. But the main reason is that the world of the flesh plague is my home ground. Bai Pu smiled. With the original Heart and Qin's curse scroll, the deformed people who the other natives are afraid of can be transformed into Bai Pu's soldiers. Christian IV and other strong men are qualified people who can avoid the influence of evolutionary instincts, so they will not be controlled by Bai Pu, otherwise Bai Pu can really get whatever he wants in this world. The last host of the flesh and blood plague was Princess Christina. She was not a perfect host, so her evolutionary instincts would leak out, and even the qualified people would be affected by her. Bai Pu is a perfect host, able to completely control the evolutionary instincts of the original heart inside his body. Only individuals affected by his pure blood and source blood will evolve. As a perfect host, Bai Pu cannot freely mobilize his evolutionary instinct to affect qualified people on a large scale, and he seems to be inferior to the imperfect host Princess Christina. But in fact, Princess Christina cannot mobilize freely either. She cannot control her distortion influence on the outside world. The Danes have escaped, and they plan to return to the warship. Qin was a little worried. Once these guys become pirates, they will continue to harass our borders, and that will be troublesome. It doesn't matter. I have made arrangements in advance. Let's chase them. Copenhagen port. A battle is breaking out on the flagship Trinity. One by one, the deformed people were besieged and killed, and the deformed body parts were scattered here and there. Steelfile gritted his teeth and said angrily, "The rudder has been destroyed. You three rats have exchanged for a lot of monster slaves. Damn, you can't get anything back after killing them, what a waste of time." An awakened person next to him said with a smile, "Boss Steelfile, the awakened person named Baffin just used the forced escape item to escape. The two people in front of us have been dragging their feet and not running away. They probably don't have the escape item. Of course, it's not easy to find the forced escape item for the intermediate spiritual world." Steelfile looked at Yaoi and Yizi who were forced into a dead end, and his eyes became fierce. "Go, kill them." Yaoi and Yizi were both injured, and they gritted their teeth and jumped into the sea. Jumping into the sea will work? It's nothing more than delaying time. Steelfile snorted, waved his hand, and 4 or 5 awakened people wearing sharkskin water jackets, holding sharp knives in their mouths, also jumped into the sea. Suddenly, the streets leading from the port to the city were filled with messy footsteps. Chapter 383, Destruction of the Country. What's going on? As soon as Steelfile asked a question, he got a prompt. King of Denmark, Christian IV died, commander of the Danish Navy, General Onhold died, all the main Danish legions were defeated, and all the leaders above the enhanced leader level were lost, the Danish camp was destroyed, and your main task, guarding the ship was in a state of no one delivering it, and it failed automatically. Please pay a 10,000 psychic point mission failure penalty. If the psychic point account balance is insufficient, you will be forced to sell the items in the storage space and the equipment you are wearing. If it is still insufficient, you will be exiled. A series of prompts made Steelfile burnt on the outside and tender on the inside. Damn it, they all died so quickly? Not even one ran back. Steelfile originally thought that with the escort of Black Hawk and the strength of Christian IV close to the Lord, even if he suffered a big loss, he could at least escape with his life. By then, the 18K team will escort the king to the sea, and their status will definitely be greatly improved. But he never expected that not only the king did not run out, but even the naval commander on hold did not run out. "Where is Black Hawk? Ask him what happened." Steelfile shouted. An awakened person next to him used the magic whistle and blew it hard. There was no response. He blew it again, but there was still no response. "Captain, Deputy Captain Black Hawk has not answered. I'm afraid. Impossible." Steelfile gritted his teeth and said, he took the magic whistle, put it in his mouth and blew it wildly. But there was still no response. It seems that Black Hawk should have escaped from this world. Steelfile knew in his heart that Black Hawk had a forced escape prop. He sighed, his eyes were cold. "I remember those two guys named Yaoi and Yizi. Let's wait and see." After that, Steelfile and others paid the psychic point fines one after another. After paying the fine, Steelfile and others received a reminder from the will of the spirit world, limiting them to leave this world within 30 seconds, and they must avoid the observation of the natives. Steel File and others left one after another. When the Danish defeated soldiers fled to the dock and rushed onto the familiar warship, they were shocked to find that the rudder was completely destroyed. It was not a big problem and could be repaired. The problem was that there was no time to repair it, and the army of the deformers had already caught up with them. The Danish defeated soldiers did not even have the choice of kneeling down and surrendering. Because the deformers would not accept prisoners before receiving Bai Pu's order, the last order they received was to kill all the Danish soldiers in front of them. Fortunately, Bai Pu and Qin arrived on horseback in time. With a shout, the deformers let go of the Danish soldiers who were kneeling down and holding their heads in their hands. Only a few diehards refused to surrender and were killed and driven into the sea. Bai Pu sat on the horse's back, slowly adjusting his breathing and recovering his bloody fighting spirit. He would not participate in the battle to wipe out the small fish. One after another, the spirit world's will prompts came. All the organized Danish armies were defeated and lost all the generals above the enhanced leader. Denmark was destroyed. Mainline Task 2, destroy the country, completed. Your level is increased to level 6. Your basic strength plus 5, basic agility plus 3, basic endurance plus 5, basic spirit plus 3. Your professional skill, the level of Blood River territory is increased to level 7, limit breaker plus 1, and you can draw related special effects. The S-level main task is completed just like that. It feels easier than the first main task, Lifeline at Sea. Bai Pu thought silently. In fact, this is the difference in difficulty caused by the different ways Bai Pu chose to complete the task. Main Task 2, destroy the country, was triggered when Qin led the reinforcements from Mama City across the Øresund Strait and entered Copenhagen to meet Bai Pu after the capture of Copenhagen. To trigger the main task in this way, Qin only needs to issue the task and get the approval of the will of the spirit world. In theory, the main task 1, Lifeline at Sea, can be completed as long as the Danish Navy's stock of food and fresh water are destroyed and they are forced to return to their country for supplies. The difficulty of the spirit worlds was rated as A level, which is quite fair. But Bai Pu adopted the method of encircling Wei to save Zhao. Relying on the flesh plague, the deformed world as his home ground, he rode into Denmark alone, enslaved a large number of deformed people, captured Copenhagen, and forced the Danish Navy to return. The difficulty of capturing Copenhagen itself is S level, for ordinary awakeners. This is equivalent to creating a good basic condition for the second step, destroying the country. Because his old nest was destroyed, Christian IV had to land and fight, losing the geographical advantage of naval battles. Because the royal family was captured, Christian IV had to fight Bai Pu alone, losing the possibility of escaping after defeat. Bai Pu received the reward of destroying the country. A booklet. Detailed explanation of flesh alchemy, special item. Records the flesh alchemy experience of flesh alchemy master, Qin, pseudonym. After using it, you can increase the level of your related secondary occupation by 1. Disappear after use. Now, let's see if this booklet can verify my speculation. Bai Pu said. Bai Pu asked Qin to choose this booklet as a reward, mainly to cooperate with Bai Pu's experiment. Think about the main quest 1. The reward of the Mad Lion's blood potion in the sea lifeline. It is more effective than the potion of the same name that Qin can make by herself, and the duration is increased by dozens of times. There must be the enlightenment of the will of the spirit world in it. Make the task reward and task difficulty more matched. However, Sea Lifeline is only an A-level main quest, and destroy the country is an S-level main quest. Qin chose detailed explanation of flesh alchemy as a reward. Will this special item that records knowledge also be enlightened by the will of the spirit world? Bai Pu took the booklet and handed it to Qin. Try it. Qin's current identity is quite special. On the one hand, she is an aboriginal, and the Queen Mother of Sweden is also an important world beacon. On the other hand, she is also Bai Pu's source blood apostle, which is considered to be half an awakened person. Bai Pu can give some awakened equipment, props and items to Qin for use. It's better to give you this experience. You don't have time to practice your secondary profession. You are only level 3 now. Qin declined. You use it. Bai Pu shook his head and said, if my guess is correct, this booklet has been opened by the will of the spirit world, and it should record more and more profound flesh and blood alchemy. The description of upgrading by 1 level should be effective for you, and can help you break through the shackles of the 6th level secondary profession. After a pause, Bai Pu continued, Your level has improved, and you can naturally teach me. Okay. Kin opened the booklet. A stream of information that only Kin could feel poured into Kin's mind. Huh? This feeling is. Kin's eyes suddenly opened, and there seemed to be an endless blood tide surging in her pupils. Chapter 384 The Secret of the Nordic Dynasty. Kin shared the tips she received with Bai Pu. Your secondary occupation, Flesh Alchemist level, has been increased by 1 level, and the current secondary occupation level is 7. You can make advanced flesh alchemy potions. You have learned a lot about the nature of flesh and blood life, and you have understood the mystery of blood. The current level of understanding is beginner. Sure enough, even if it is your own experience, after the process of being consecrated by the will of the spirit world, it has brought you considerable benefits. Bai Pu's doubts were confirmed. He smiled and took out a long treasured blood extraction skill book and handed it to Kin. The secret of blood is considered a natural thing and should be a rare secret. Bai Pu said, your next step should be to learn a secret skill related to blood, and then try to create your own secret skill. By then, the secret of blood will reach the advanced level. Unfortunately, I don't have a skilled book for the secret of blood, so I can only give you this one to make up the number. I hope you can create a secret skill directly. Kin smiled and said, I don't really like fighting, I prefer research. The secret of blood can help me detect the blood flow of the experimental subject more accurately and accurately control the ratio of the raw materials of the medicine. This is what I like about it. Of course, Kin was very happy about her improved strength. Just from the surface, Kin's blood magic power increased by 45%, which was strong enough. It was difficult for an ordinary level 6 leader to survive 3 rounds under Kin's hands. In this chaotic Northern Europe, strong strength is the powerful guarantee for Kin and her daughter Christina. What are you going to do with Denmark? Bai Pu asked. Kin thought for a moment and came to a conclusion. The struggle between Sweden and Denmark for hegemony in the Scandinavian peninsula should come to an end. I plan to develop Sweden's navy based on the captured warships, use Zealand as a base, radiate to other islands, and eliminate the nobles on the Danish islands. Although Kin looks like a homebody who likes to do research, when she said this, she showed the domineering temperament that a regent queen mother should have. Let me give you another suggestion. Bai Pu said, consider supporting a young prince of the Danish royal family, making him the Duke of Denmark, and swearing allegiance to Queen Christina of Sweden. Does it have to be a prince? Can a princess be okay? Kin asked. A duchess? That's fine too. Bai Pu didn't care about these details. He made this suggestion mainly to avoid a surging wave of resistance in various parts of Denmark. It's time for you to be promoted to Duke, my great marshal. Kin looked at Bai Pu, intoxicated, licked her lips and showed a charming smile. The Battle of Copenhagen, which lasted for 2 days and 1 night, was finally declared over. The aberrant army was left to guard the ship and supervise the craftsmen in the shipyard to repair the rudder. Bai Pu hugged Kin and rested in the Copenhagen palace for 2 hours. Both of them were physically and mentally happy, and the stress and fatigue of recent times were swept away. Yaoi and Yizi came to submit the task to Bai Pu. The two still did not know Bai Pu's true identity. Bai Pu always kept his promises and rewarded them with a triangle swordsmanship draft. These two people were able to complete the dangerous task of destroying the Danish fleet and prevented the Danish defeated soldiers from fleeing to the sea, which was a great achievement. There was also a great effort in the early attack on the shipyard. Bai Pu was still in the royal city of Copenhagen at that time, and met Kin, who had just crossed the sea. Lord Deofur, I admire your swordsmanship very much. Can you please give me some advice? After Yaoi received the reward, due to the greedy nature of the awakened, she wanted to get Bai Pu's guidance. Bai Pu shook his head and said lightly, the country is in a time of reconstruction. My time is limited and I don't have the leisure to guide you. Let's wait for a chance in the future. Yes. Yaoi didn't dare to continue to make requests, for fear that the favorability of Deofur that he had worked so hard to get would decrease. He had the idea of a long-term plan, and in the future he would help the Swedish Empire camp do more work, brush up the camp's reputation, brush up the marshal's favorability, and there would always be a chance to get the other party's guidance. It is difficult for many awakened people to approach a top indigenous strongman like Deofur, and this opportunity can be said to be quite precious. The only thing that made the Yaoi unhappy was that no matter how they tried, Deofur did not issue them a new main task. Their stay time in this world has run out, and they can only look back 3 steps at a time, and reluctantly chose to return. They have made up their minds that after returning to reality, they must collect tickets to the world of blood plague, distortion, and the latest information. I don't know what these 2 people will think after knowing that my true identity is an awakened person. Bai Pu smiled. What can they think? Your strength and status are all there, and it has nothing to do with whether you are an awakened person. Qin found it hard to understand. You're right. Bai Pu let the awakened person caught by Qin go after paying a compensation of 18,000 psychic points. For the awakened, Bai Pu is more inclined to spare the opponent's life, provided that the money for buying the life is enough, so that it can achieve a win-win effect. Of course, the premise of doing so is that the overall situation has been decided. When necessary, Bai Pu will not be soft-hearted. For example, Black Hawk died in his hands, and a bloody treasure chest exploded. Bai Pu casually flipped out the 2 treasure chests won in this battle. Among them, the treasure chest of the King of Denmark is larger, and it is golden in color, with dark gold patterns flashing, which looks quite extraordinary. Christian IV's treasure chest, I suggest you don't draw it for now. Qin made a suggestion. I remember you said that you have a dim sacred clay tablet, which seems to be called rune clay tablet, which was drawn from Gustav's treasure chest. It helped you a lot, right? Bai Pu nodded. After the divine clay tablet was charged, it helped Bai Pu to open the 2nd level of the talent tree, which was of great use. There was no text on that clay tablet originally. In the Falling Star Islands, Gustav used the clay tablet to obtain some mysterious runes, which eventually formed the rune clay tablet you drew. Qin said. I've heard of it. Bai Pu nodded. What I want to talk about is the clay tablet itself. First of all, the Vasa dynasty of Sweden and the Oldenburg dynasty of Denmark previously belonged to the same alliance, the Kalmar Union. Going back 500 years, they were both branches of the Viking pirates and had inextricable connections. Qin slowly told the unknown secrets. That clay tablet is the inheritance of the Vasa dynasty, something left by Gustav's ancestors. And Christian IV's inherited weapon, the axe called Asrat, is also the inheritance of the Oldenburg dynasty. Bai Pu narrowed his eyes. You are guessing that the axe Asrat will also help me? Yes, maybe it will be of greater help. After all, Gustav's inheritance clay tablet had not played any role before he entered the Falling Star Islands. It was like a board with exhausted energy. And the inherited axe Asrat has always been a symbol of Christian IV's power and retains its tyrannical power. After listening to this, Bai Pu nodded carefully. I understand. I will try my best to find some props to assist in extracting the spoils, and strive to extract the inherited axe Asrat within 2 extractions. Quotation mark. If you're listening to this novel on a channel other than Fanfic World, it means they downloaded and uploaded it without effort. We cordially invite you to visit our channel, Mundo Fanfic Novelis. There you'll find the original version of this story, and you can explore many other novels of various genres. We're waiting for you to immerse yourself in a world of incredible novels. Chapter 385, Duke of Scania. The treasure chest of the Danish king is temporarily reserved. Bai Pu first opened the bloody treasure chest of the awakened Black Hawk. Black Hawk's blood value is 13 points, which is not high compared to his level as a mid-level awakener, but it is definitely not innocent. You should know that Bai Pu's blood value is still 0. Bai Pu killed Black Hawk in a self-defense counterattack, so this time the D option still appeared, the honor value card of the Spirit World War. The other 3 options, option A is still psychic points, 3 cards, option B is equipment, 14 cards, and option C is the items in the storage space, 34 cards. Black Hawk's blood value is only 13 points, and Bai Pu can only rule out one option. There are 34 cards in the storage space, which is really surprising. However, before Bai Pu let go of another 18K Awakener Shijian, he had roughly asked about Black Hawk's position in the 18K team. The deputy leader played a logistics role and stored a lot of the team's miscellaneous items on his body. Bai Pu decisively excluded item C, the items in the storage space. Then, according to the additional authority brought by the blood value, Bai Pu eliminated 4 undervalued cards, and then clicked twice on the remaining 18 cards. The blood card turned over. A coin pattern and a book pattern appeared. You have obtained 13,068 power points. You have obtained the Spike skill book, level 3, Spike, 2-star skill. Shoot a powerful attack at the target, knocking the target back a short distance. If the target hits the terrain or obstacles during the knockback, It will trigger a stun effect. Why is it a skill book? Bai Pu was a little stunned at first. Obviously, among the three options, power points, equipment, and honor value, there is no skill book category. Bai Pu used his lieutenant authority to query. The will of the spirit world quickly responded. The equipment option in the bloody treasure chest has a small probability of containing the skills equipped by the deceased during his lifetime. It will appear in the form of a bloody skill book, attached with the deceased's partial understanding of the skill. Compared to ordinary skill books, the bloody skill book is more difficult to comprehend. But after successful comprehension, you can inherit part of the deceased's proficiency in the skill. Bai Pu has learned a lot. This sting skill will be left for Blood Spider to use later. This is not a return gift for Ironhorn Helmet of the Immortal King, but a mutual help between teammates. Bai Pu breathed a sigh of relief, and then opened the spiritual will-related professional skill enhancement options. At this time, Bai Pu's level was upgraded to level 6, and his 4 attributes were further improved. Attributes: Strength 94, 49, Agility 59, 34, Endurance 97, 55, Spirit 51, 39. The basic attribute values are in brackets. The upper limit of the professional energy Blood River Fighting Spirit has also been increased to 900 points. The professional skill, Blood River Territory, was upgraded to level 7, Limit Breaker +1, further improving the damage value and shield absorption in the Blood River Territory. At the same time, more importantly, the special effects of the skill level 7 were enabled. A. Vast, increases the range of your occupational skill, Blood River Territory by 30%. B. Thirst, increases the damage, healing effect, and shield absorption of your occupational skill, Blood River Territory by 15%. C. Tide, rare, makes the gravity traction effect of your occupational skill, Blood River Territory change periodically, with the peak being 75% of your strength endurance attribute and the trough being 25% of your strength endurance attribute. D. Shape Shift, rare, makes the shape of your occupational skill, Blood River Territory change freely, but the upper limit of the coverage area will not change. Blood River Territory restricts the priority of sprint-type displacement skills by +1. There are 7 options in total. After a simple query, Bai Pu chose D. Shape Shift. Apart from anything else, restricting the priority of sprint-type displacement skills by +1 is a great value. Originally, it was sprint-type displacement skills with a priority lower than 8 points will be restricted. The current skill description has been changed to sprint-type displacement skills with a priority no greater than 8 points will be restricted. It may seem like a minor change, but it actually means that most heroes, even enhanced heroes, will be restricted by the Blood River Territory. As for the deformation itself, it is also easy to understand. When Bai Pu's Blood River Territory is fully exerted, the maximum coverage radius is 97 meters, which is equivalent to a huge circular area with a radius of 97 meters. Now Bai Pu can deform this huge circular area, such as into a fan shape, a quarter circle, and the coverage radius will reach 194 meters. The grab radius is doubled. In extreme cases, Bai Pu can turn the Blood River Territory into a long and narrow strip. The grab radius will also be greatly increased. Of course, the deformation special effect is also limited, and the extension distance is limited by Bai Pu's Blood River Dao Qi purity, that is, the priority of Blood River Territory. At present, the priority of the Blood River Territory is 8 points, and Bai Pu can increase the extension distance to 2.15 times the initial radius at most, that is, 209 meters. Beyond this distance, the Blood River Territory has no power. The biggest advantage of choosing deformation is that when Bai Pu is dealing with a small number of enemies, he can reduce the coverage area by changing the shape of the Blood River Territory. This means flexible effect and reduced consumption. Although the upper limit of 900 Blood River Ki has been reached, the maximum output of 2 Blood River Ki per second is still a big mana consumer. If the area is reduced, the total amount of Blood River Ki output will also be reduced accordingly, and it will be reduced to 1 point per second at most. In this way, in the initial state of full Blood River Ki, Bai Pu's natural recovery speed of Ki will catch up with the consumption speed. Counting the energy consumption reduction effect of Iron Wool knee pads, you can even use one more skill every once in a while. Soon, Qin returned to Stockholm, the royal city of Sweden, and announced the news of Denmark's demise. The Kingdom of Denmark was changed to Duchy under the jurisdiction of the Swedish Empire. The former Queen of Denmark, Anna Katarina, inherited the title of the Duchy of Denmark and became the Duchess of Denmark. Due to physical reasons, Grand Duke Katarina needs to go to the Swedish capital to recuperate. The affairs of the Danish territory are managed by the imperial commander, Duke Deofur of Scania. That's right, it's Duke. Can return to the Swedish capital, and at the first imperial meeting, he directly issued an order to upgrade Count Deofur, who made great contributions in this battle, to the rank of Duke. The land of Scania also expanded accordingly, extending to the city of Magma in the west and to the Kalmar fortress in the east. No one objected to this reward. Even Prime Minister Oxenstierna, who had always been wary of Bai Pu, agreed. Qin had been building momentum for Bai Pu for a long time, and had included Bai Pu's deeds in textbooks, which had already made Bai Pu quite famous in the minds of the Swedes. This time, Bai Pu conquered Denmark alone, and in the minds of the Swedes, he had become a godlike existence. Solving the troubles of sea routes, the food shipped from the European continent continuously fed the Nordic peninsula and solved the famine of millions of Swedes. This great achievement was well known under Qin's declaration. Some Swedish people even hung the portrait of Marshal Deofur in their homes as a spiritual sustenance. The people of Greater Swedenism, led by Prime Minister Oxenstierna, were all delighted by the glorious achievement of Denmark being conquered and reincorporated into the territory of the Swedish Empire. Naturally, they had no objection to the conferment of the title on Bai Pu. Chapter 386, the new Archduke of Norway is about to arrive in his loyal Oslo. One blow is better than 100. This time, the United Kingdom of Denmark and Norway, together with the newly established Tsarist Russia, attacked Sweden with great fanfare, but only 10 days had passed before Denmark, which had been the most active, ended up being destroyed. Tsarist Russia originally planned to advance by land, attack northern Sweden through Finland, and divide Sweden with Denmark, but after receiving the news of the death of Christian IV in the battle, it withdrew its troops overnight and sent envoys to submit their credentials again, expressing its desire for peace. The accounts with Tsarist Russia can only be settled later, as the Swedish Empire has just annexed Denmark and needs time to develop. Qin temporarily sent the envoys and signed an armistice agreement with Tsarist Russia. As for the last country, Norway, in fact, strictly speaking, it is not a complete country. Norway is a vassal state of Denmark, and the Danish king Christian IV also served as the king of Norway. After Christian IV died in battle, the Norwegian Council of State issued a statement that it did not recognize the Duke Anna Katarina, who was canonized by Sweden, and was actively planning to restore the title of the Kingdom of Norway. It can only be said that Denmark's experience of national destruction has not yet given Norway enough warning. Qin quickly used two means. On the one hand, Duke Anna Katarina issued a statement to transfer Norway's suzerainty to the Swedish Empire, gaining legal legitimacy. On the other hand, Qin personally came forward and invited a new Duke of Scania, Deofur, to enter Norway again. As for Qin himself, he reorganized the Swedish navy and sent deformed people to land on the major islands of Denmark to eliminate the resistance of the Danish nobles and gain de facto ruling power. The fjords in Norway are beautiful. The mountains on both sides are towering into the clouds, and the spires covered with snow all year round contrast with the evergreen trees in the middle and lower layers of the mountains. The water of the fjord is clear, and the combination of green and blue has a crystal clear beauty. Looking around, there is a magnificent scenery of white, green and blue. What a beautiful place! Bai Pu took a small boat, set off from Denmark, and went north along the coastline to his destination Bergen. At this time, Bergen is already a dead city. A terrible deformed monster created the famous Blood Pool massacre and drained the blood of the entire Bergen city, who did not have time to escape. This monster is the legendary first-generation deformed Grand Duke of Bergen. It is a powerful existence as famous as the Blood Mist Butcher and Scarlet Wings. However, Bai Pu is looking for it on this trip. A drop of pure blood appeared on the fingertips. Not long after, a thick blood mist floated from far to near. In the blood mist, the shadow of a blood-red monster with bat wings can be vaguely seen. Grand Duke Bergen has arrived. The blood-red shadow suddenly stopped and crouched on the spire of a dilapidated church. Two blood-red eyes, somewhat cautiously and eagerly, stared at Bai Pu. Sure enough, it is stronger than the leader-level distorted monster. Although the evolutionary instinct destroyed your human consciousness, on this basis, you have also given birth to the thinking consciousness of a monster. But after all, you are controlled by the evolutionary instinct. Even if reason tells you not to come, Instinct will still prompt you to come. Bai Pu put away the breath of pure blood. Cry. Grand Duke Bergen let out a sharp cry and flapped his wings to take off. Bai Pu's response was the suddenly opened blood river territory. A fan-shaped blood river territory stretched out and suddenly captured Grand Duke Bergen. The sudden heavy pressure made Grand Duke Bergen like a bird trapped in a trap. He flapped his wings with great effort, but he couldn't fly high. He fell down in a mess 2 or 3 feet off the ground. Grand Duke Bergen screamed again, and a blood-colored mist spread out. The vision around Bai Pu was blood red. At the same time, a bright red blood-colored ripple swept out, binding Bai Pu like a rope, and pulling hard. The blood in Bai Pu's body boiled and seemed to be leaving his body. Grand Duke Bergen's skill, sucking has an effect on you. The toughness check is in progress. The toughness check passed. You resisted the skill effect of blood leaving the body, and only received a basic dark attribute magic damage of the sucking skill. Level 6 enhanced leader, equivalent to my level and template. Without the template suppression, this deformer monster has the courage to attack me. Compared with the enslavement on Zealand Island, Bai Pu's attempt to enslave Grand Duke Bergen this time was definitely not so smooth. The monsters on Zealand Island, which were only enhanced elites at the highest, did not even have the courage to attack Bai Pu. They could only watch Bai Pu take out the curse scroll and complete the new version of the Blood Rinkers. Grand Duke Bergen's resistance did not pose much threat to Bai Pu. At this time, Bai Pu's strength had already surpassed that of the intermediate enhanced leader. Even if Emperor Gustav was resurrected, Bai Pu dared defy him. When he raised his hand, the phantom of the collapse of the mountain appeared in Grand Duke Bergen's eyes. Lasso strike directly pulled Grand Duke Bergen over, and then the chainsaw sword slashed over with a brutal mountain collapse secret. The blood mist around Grand Duke Bergen seemed to be a rudimentary domain ability, which had a certain resistance to Bai Pu's blood river territory. But the effect of limiting sprint skills is solid, and the new level 7 special effect, transformation, limits the sprint skills to no more than 8 priority points, which just includes the enhanced leader level Grand Duke Bergen. After being hit by a mountain collapse, a black and red crack was cut on Grand Duke Bergen's body. It tried to flap its wings, but its speed could not be raised. It could only glide, land, and glide again, like a disturbed hen. Bai Pu activated a Gangfang falling blade, and his figure closely followed Grand Duke Bergen's lateral pursuit. The figures of the two people sometimes appeared in a corner of the street, sometimes appeared above the church, and sometimes appeared on the blood-red river. Without exception, it was all Grand Duke Bergen who was fleeing, and Bai Pu was chasing him, one sword after another, slashing down fiercely, like a kitchen knife chopping stuffing. Grand Duke Bergen soon fell into a state of serious injury and became completely honest. Bai Pu then used the Scroll of Curse to control the Grand Duke of Bergen, and threw him into the cabin of the boat like a dead dog. The next target, Golden Wolf Liario? He is only at the level of a level 6 leader. Bai Pu raised the sail. Under the urging of the secret of the strong wind, the small sailboat automatically sailed along the beautiful Nordic fjord without wind. Norway, as a former vassal state of Denmark, has a small number of troops and strong people. Otherwise, it would not allow the Grand Duke of Bergen and many deformed leaders to be domineering on the land. On the first day Bai Pu came to Norway, he was discovered by the Norwegians. The Norwegian Political Affairs Committee held an emergency meeting to discuss the increasingly serious situation. The topic of the first day was how to deal with the Scanian monster landing in Bergen. On the second day, the topic became the man-eating Devil King is advancing towards Stavanger. On the third day, the topic was invaders entering Trondheim. Day 4, Dio Fury's mutant army occupied Agder. Day 5, the new Archduke of Norway is about to arrive in his loyal Oslo. When Bai Pu, with a group of leader-level mutant monsters and the enhanced leader-level mutant Archduke Bergen, entered the city of Oslo in a dignified manner, the Norwegian Council of State could only wait for their orders in fear and trepidation. Chapter 387 S-Level Fame. World Famous. Bai Pu's way of dealing with the Norwegian Council of State was very simple. Through his observation ability, he understood the situation. The one who took the lead in the trouble was the Governor-General of Norway sent by Denmark, who was killed. The few people who exposed the misdeeds of the Governor-General of Norway formed the new leadership of the Council of State. The new leadership was in a probation period of half a year. The position of the new Governor-General of Norway was vacant. When the probation period was over, a person who was most loyal to the empire would be selected from these people. Then Bai Pu proposed a series of task requirements to the Norwegian Council of State, from mineral resources to reserve conscription, and assigned them to each leader of the Council of State. In this way, these people who suddenly got high positions would definitely try their best to become the new Governor-General of Norway. Bai Pu did not need their moral qualities to be noble, as long as their actions were in line with the interests of the Swedish Empire. As for whether these people would collude to make trouble, Bai Pu was not worried at all. Not to mention that they were in a competitive relationship. Even if they could put aside this layer of competition and work together to deceive the superiors and the subordinates, when the probation period was over, Bai Pu could still use force to replace a group of leaders. After settling the affairs of Norway, the Swedish Empire has basically restored the glory of the Bleeding Hollow Empire and occupied the entire Scandinavian peninsula. The only thing missing is Finland and part of the Russian territories. However, the Swedish Empire needs to digest the fruits of victory and will not attack Russia for the time being. Bai Pu returned to the Swedish capital of Stockholm and was welcomed by the streets. He finally got the prompt of the spirit world. Your popularity in the flesh plague, aberration world has greatly increased. The current popularity level is S, world famous. 10336/10000. Comma, you have obtained 1 legendary point. Comma, Bai Pu was a little emotional. He finally got all 3 legendary points in the flesh plague, aberration world. Bai Pu has undergone a transformation in this world. The 2 job changes occurred in this world, different areas. He changed from an ordinary person to a powerful level 6 enhanced hero class. Legendary points are not enough. I need more. Bai Pu took a look at the second layer options of the Heart of Evolution talent tree. Each of the 3 enhancement options on the second floor is quite tempting, but each option requires 3 legendary points to light up. If I have saved up 3 legendary points, I should light up the option of Source Master's Descent first. In addition to expanding the number of Source Blood and Pure Blood, the most important thing is to be able to communicate with the apostles and slaves in a timely manner, and remotely control them to conquer their respective worlds, just like sowing seeds one by one. When the seeds bloom and bear fruit, I will descend into their world and harvest legendary points. This is Bai Pu's idea. He has felt that it is too time-consuming and tiring to rely solely on his own strength to go to each intermediate spirit world to get legendary points. The apostles and servants should do the preliminary work, and he will come forward to solve the difficult and hard bones, indigenous strongmen, who block them, which can greatly improve the efficiency of collecting legendary points. Bai Pu handed over all the leaders of the Deformers, including the Grand Duke of Bergen, to Qin. In this way, Qin had 2 level 6 enhanced leaders, Prime Minister Oxenstierna and Grand Duke of Bergen, as well as a large group of leaders such as Golden Wolf Liario, Cutthroat Goodwin, Guardian Knight Garwain, Guardian Knight Yvette, etc. Yvette has been promoted from enhanced elite to leader. Although such a lineup is not as powerful as when the Blood Ring Emperor was alive, it is more than enough to keep the territory of the Nordic Peninsula. Qin can also call for external aid Bai Pu to help. Bai Pu's comprehensive combat effectiveness at this time is not inferior to Emperor Gustav. In his spare time, Bai Pu spent his time in Qin's bedroom, studying flesh and blood alchemy day and night. After Qin was promoted to level 7 flesh and blood alchemist, the efficiency of Bai Pu's teaching was greatly improved. In terms of data, Bai Pu's proficiency soared. In just 10 days, Bai Pu's secondary occupation had reached 100% of the experience bar of level 3. Bai Pu immediately received a reminder from the will of the spirit world. Your secondary occupation, Taoist alchemist, has met the conditions for the promotion test. The promotion test is, make a unique medicine, and the evaluation must not be lower than that of a B-level item. Bai Pu used his lieutenant rank to ask the will of the spirit world about a meaning of unique medicine. The will of the spirit world replied, unique medicine refers to your self-created medicine that has not been learned through formulas. Bai Pu frowned when he heard it. As a Taoist alchemist, with the 2 passive abilities of combining Chinese and Western and breaking barriers, it is not difficult to create a new type of medicine. For example, first aid ointment and anti-aging cream are all formulas created by Bai Pu at a low level. The difficulty of this test lies in making the evaluation of the medicine reach above B-level props. What does this mean? You should know that the conventional medicines made by Qin are rarely evaluated above B-level. For example, the blood of the Mad Lion potion is a B-level medicine. and the blood of the Mad Lion mixture, consecrated by the will of the spiritual world, is an A-level medicine. Simply put, making B-level medicine is already Qin's original alchemy level, which is comparable to the level of 4-6 level flesh and blood alchemists. What's more, Bai Pu must be original, which increases the difficulty. I can only collect some rare formulas, and then improve them through the passive ability of Taoist alchemists, and try my luck. Bai Pu thought to himself. I have developed some difficult formulas, but the materials are hard to find. When I was a court advisor in Brandenburg, I couldn't collect a complete set of raw materials in a year. Qin said, writing down these difficult formulas and handing them over to Bai Pu. However, when Bai Pu got these difficult formulas, he found that he could remember every word of the formula, but he couldn't comprehend the formula. This is different from the Changqing ointment formula that Dongbo Changzi gave me. At that time, I was able to immerse my mind in the formula and watch the production process. Bai Pu pondered for a while. Does this thing also require psychic particle resonance, and I have to obtain ownership? Then what should I do? Qin asked. There can only be one more step, that is, the step of opening the will of the spiritual world. Bai Pu smiled and said, put these formulas in the merit exchange of the Imperial Army camp, and mark that they can only be exchanged with a worship reputation. Qin did so, and then said, I tried it, and these formulas can be put in the merit exchange, but the price is not set by me. I want to set a low price, but the will of the spiritual world keeps prompting failure. It's okay, just follow the guide price of the will of the spiritual world. Bai Pu said with a smile. After destroying Denmark, Bai Pu had already earned 100,000 military merits. He spent these 100,000 military merits on being promoted to Duke and expanding his territory, but then Bai Pu pacified Norway and accumulated another 60,000 military merits. So, he was not afraid of a high price at all. Chapter 388, The Destroyer. Soon, Bai Pu saw the 3 latest recipes from the quartermaster Gao Wen. Determined Heart, A-level potion. After use, you can reduce the damage you take by 200 points, making it more difficult for you to be knocked away or repelled, lasting for 30 seconds. Blood strengthening fluid, A-level potion. After use, you can increase your physical attributes by 25 points. The same potion can only take effect once for each awakener. Strong energy potion, A-level potion. After use, you can squeeze your potential, increase your energy recovery speed, and restore an additional 1% of your maximum energy value per second, no more than 10 points, lasting for 30 seconds. These 3 recipes all require 5,000 war merits, which is the guide price given by the will of the spirit world. The price of Qin can only fluctuate slightly above or below 5,000 war merits, and it is impossible to transfer it at the bargain price of 1 war merit. A total of 15,000 war merits is definitely difficult for ordinary awakeners to pay, and they have to rely on the power of the team to make up for it. But for Bai Pu, he didn't even blink, and directly exchanged it. 3 formulas appeared in Bai Pu's hands. He tried it, and he was able to understand it now. You should be able to guarantee the success rate of making these 3 formulas now, right? Bai Pu asked. I don't know. These 3 advanced formulas were deduced by me based on the knowledge of flesh and blood alchemy when I was bored before. Qin said uncertainly, I only had the level of 6 alchemy before, and the success rate of making these advanced potions must be very low. The materials for advanced formulas are also hard to find, so I didn't do much. It should be possible now. Well, actually, in the Heart Demon, Oath world that I went to before, a low-level world area, there are people who can directly take out the A-level formula of the finished product. It seems that there are still big differences between the planes. Bai Pu thought about it. In this world, flesh and blood alchemy is an emerging discipline. Indigenous people like Qin, who are gifted, are already leading figures at the forefront of the academic world. All alchemical knowledge was researched by contemporary masters like Qin. In the world of Heart Demon, Oath, the meaning of inheritance is stronger. Dongbo Changzi's evergreen cream formula must be left by his ancestors. I understand. I also want to go to various worlds with you, but it's a pity that I can't do it now. Qin hugged Bai Pu. If I give up my identity as a native of this world now, it will be very troublesome to come back in the future. I have to get tickets and do tasks every time. I also want to spend more time with Christina. I owe her too much? Bai Pu felt a heavy pressure coming from his chest, and smelled the scent of violet petals on Qin's body, and felt a little throbbing. It happened that Kin's eyes also looked over with a hint of confusion, and Bai Pu couldn't help but pick her up. Suddenly, a waiter shouted outside the bedroom door, "Welcome to Her Majesty the Queen. Christina is here." Kin quickly pushed Bai Pu away, and the two of them sorted out their clothes. "Mom." Christina flew into Kin's arms like a happy little bird, then poked her face out of her mother's arms and looked at Bai Pu with a complicated expression. Now, Christina is no longer a skinny bean sprout. After seeing the light of day again, she has subtle changes every day, becoming lively and cheerful, as beautiful as a real princess in a fairy tale. Christina's feelings for Bai Pu are also complicated. On the one hand, she knows that it was Bai Pu who rescued her from the dark lead coffin and took on the curse of the terrible heart. Most of her good life now is due to the man in front of her. On the other hand, she also knows that her father, Emperor Gustave, who is indifferent to her, died at the hands of Bai Pu. The most important thing is that Christina is not an ignorant girl. Whether from others or her own observation, she knows about the ambiguous relationship between her mother and the handsome boy in front of her. This makes Christina feel a little awkward. She is now 14 or 15 years old, just the age of a girl's love. With a perfect young man like Bai Pu, she can't help but be moved. Christina doesn't know whether she came to her mother's palace on time and deliberately broke their good deeds for her dead father or for herself. Bai Pu quietly used the 9 chapters detection on Christina. In fact, he has always been curious about what is so special about Christina as the first-generation mother of the flesh and blood plague. You won't know until you see it, and you will be shocked when you see it. Christina looks timid, but she is actually a level 4 leader. From the attribute point of view, she is a spiritual specialty type, which is the same as Jean. It's just that she hasn't practiced any skills yet. The problem is that Christina is less than 15 years old. As an aboriginal, she has not even experienced decent training. She has become a level 4 leader directly under the blessing of the world beacon. If she practices well and develops to the age of 18 or 19, won't she soar to the sky? At the very least, she can also upgrade a template to reach Jean's level. If there are some adventures, I'm afraid she will become a spiritual lord. Bai Pu whispered to Kin, "Your daughter has great potential. If you train her well, she will definitely inherit the Swedish Empire and become an outstanding queen." "Of course I know." Kin smiled, "You forgot that I am now half an awakener, and I have the crystal ball you gave me. I have already used soul enlightenment detection on Christina. When I have free time, I will also teach her some skills in using blood magic." "Mom, what are you talking about with Brother Dio?" Christina did not understand the mystery of the world, so she naturally could not hear the conversations between awakeners that were beyond her comprehension. In her eyes, her mother and Dio were flirting with each other, and it was obvious that they were having an affair. "Nothing," he said. "You are the future great magician." Kin tapped Christina's nose. "How many times has he said that you have to call Io uncle? He is your elder." In the following time, Bai Pu, under Kin's guidance, comprehended 3 formulas one by one. However, Bai Pu's secondary occupation level was too low, and comprehending these 3 advanced formulas was very slow. Comprehending the formula was mainly based on Bai Pu, and even with Kin's guidance, it would not be fast. Time in this world was about to run out, and Bai Pu no longer hesitated. He took the 3 recipes and returned directly to the real world. This time, Bai Pu had very little to do on the level summary interface. He first strengthened the gold level leg armor, iron wool knee pad, to +4. In addition to the effect of reducing leg damage by 12%, he also got the +4 special effect. Steady as a mountain, increases the strength confrontation bonus, passive, of the equipment's additional skill steady to 35 points. This strengthening special effect can only be said to be better than nothing. Bai Pu felt it was a pity. He was also thinking about whether he could strengthen another skill, endurance, to reduce the energy consumption ratio more. Now it seems that he can only hope for the +7 special effect. In addition, Bai Pu's popularity reached S level, and the original A level title, Legion Commander, also disappeared. He got the relevant S level title. Nation Destroyer, level 1, make your troops gain 5% of your attribute bonus, and the bonus of the directly affiliated troops is doubled. The enemy army fighting against you will suffer a 5% attribute reduction based on their fear of you. Note, this title can be upgraded. Chapter 389 King Level Purple Weapon. The title of the Destroyer of Nations, like the original title of the Commander of the Legion, only has one more effect. It reduces the enemy's attributes simultaneously. It is somewhat inconsistent with the domineering temperament of the S-level title. However, considering that this title can be upgraded, maybe it will be very powerful if it is upgraded to a higher level? I just don't know how to upgrade the title. It can't be to destroy nations. Bai Pu thought about it and shook his head again. In the world of flesh plague, distortion, it is his home ground, so he can destroy Denmark so easily. If it were another world, it would definitely take a lot of effort and it might not succeed. This time, Bai Pu was conferred the title of Duke, and his emblem of the Earl of the Foulet family was officially upgraded to Emblem of the Duke of the Foulet family. Emblem of the Duke of the Foulet family. Put it in the storage space. You can get additional benefits. Increase your health plus 1000, all attributes plus 10. Every natural month, you will have the opportunity to teleport to the capital of your territory through this emblem, must be in the real world, without being disturbed, and gain 10 days of free residence. Bai Pu made great contributions to destroying the country this time and was awarded the title of Duke of Real Power. His title jumped 2 levels, which was indeed very different. The original Earl's emblem only added 300 health points and 3 points of all attributes. Now the Duke's emblem adds 1000 health points and 10 points of all attributes. Bai Pu's current attributes have become Strength 101, 49, Agility 66, 34, Endurance 104, 55, Spirit 58, 39, Strength and Endurance are both over 100. And Bai Pu's health points have also reached 4120 points, and his survivability has been further improved. Just as Bai Pu was about to leave, the will of the spirit world suddenly sent a notification. The purple equipment you commissioned to transform, Doomsday, has been forged. Do you want to receive it now? Bai Pu chose to receive it. The next second, dots of light gathered, and a spear that was 3 or 4 meters long floated in front of Bai Pu. This spear, named Doomsday, was gorgeous purple throughout. The blade was more than a foot long, with small prismatic spikes on both sides and deep blood grooves on the blade, all exuding a fierce and bloodthirsty aura. Bai Pu was concerned about the properties of the Doomsday spear. He checked and found that this spear was similar to the concept map sent by the Spirit World Whale. The high attack power and terrifying basic attribute equipment requirements remained unchanged. Doomsday, encapsulated, equipment quality, 2-star king level, purple, equipment location, 2-handed, equipment requirements, basic strength 120, basic agility 120, basic endurance 100, basic spirit 100, attributes, additional attack power 180 350, attack strength plus 120, additional skill 1, additional skill 2, durability 1200/1200, description, at the wrong time, in the wrong place, a wrong weapon appeared. This means that the will of the spirit world is implying me. Bai Pu felt that the will of the spirit world should not be so boring. He turned to query, why can't I view the additional skills of this weapon? Your authority is insufficient, please explore on your own. The will of the spirit world blocked Bai Pu this time. Alice, it seems that the rank of lieutenant is still not high enough. Bai Pu guessed in his heart and tried to store the Doomsday spear in the storage space. However, when trying to store it, Bai Pu's vigilance of the demon spider queen shield in the storage space actually conveyed a trace of fear. Is this the consciousness of the demon spider queen? That is, the consciousness of the weapon spirit? The weapon spirit of the dark gold shield is afraid of this king-level purple weapon. Good guy, you can actually suppress the weapon spirit of low-level equipment, you are really good. Bai Pu had an idea in his mind. He found the mechanism on the spear shaft. After pressing it, the spear was split into 2 parts. The spear shaft part is about 1.5 meters. The part connected to the spearhead is more than 2 meters. Suddenly, Bai Pu's expression moved. He found that after the split, the data description of the gun head and the gun shaft had changed. First, the gun head. Doomsday edge, encapsulated, equipment quality, unable to determine, incomplete, equipment location, 2-handed, equipment requirements, basic strength 80, basic agility 80, basic endurance 60, basic spirit 60, attributes, additional attack power 120-250, attack strength plus 70, additional skills, none, durability 800/800, description, this is the blade of a king-level weapon, and it longs to reunite with its brothers. As for the gun shaft, It is displayed as a long-handled weapon of the stick type, with an attack power of 80-150 and no additional skills, but the equipment requirements are also reduced. What Bai Pu really cares about is the description of it longs to reunite with its brothers. This king-level equipment should also have a weapon spirit, right? Bai Pu asked the will of the spirit world. My dark gold equipment, Vigilance of the Demon Spider Queen, has a weapon spirit, so it doesn't make sense that the king-level purple equipment doesn't have a weapon spirit. If I can get the approval of the weapon spirit, can I have the equipment requirements? The will of the spirit world replied quickly, yes, it seems that the approval of the weapon spirit reduces the equipment requirements by half as a universal rule. Bai Pu immediately asked, how can I get the approval of the weapon spirit of the Doomsday Spear? Your authority is insufficient, please explore on your own. Although he didn't get an answer, Bai Pu was not in a hurry at all. Isn't it just a military rank? Now the lieutenant rank is not given, but when Bai Pu deeply participates in the war of the spirit world and gets the captain or even the colonel rank, the will of the spirit world will have to tell him, right? Bai Pu stuffed the 2 pieces of the gun into the storage space. Sure enough, after being split into 2 pieces, Vigilance of the Demon Spider Queen no longer sent out the emotion of fear. Bai Pu chose to return. The first thing he did after returning was to let Li Ling use the connections established by the anti-aging cream to purchase items such as the Book of Revelation of Destiny that could be used to extract treasure chests. His goal was to extract the inherited weapon, the Asrat Battle Axe, from the Danish king's treasure chest to see if this Nordic heritage item could work on the evolution heart talent tree. Although items that could be extracted from a specific area were rare, they were not unavailable. Bai Pu had also thought about communicating with the envoy to make a deal, but the envoy was such a person that it was impossible for him to make a loss and make a fortune from Bai Pu. Back then, the envoy Xiaoxia invested in a sea-level gold item, the Book of Revelation of Destiny, which usually cost 3 kulins of divine energy, but ended up exchanging it for a holy weapon worth 40 kulins of divine energy. So Bai Pu refused to look for the envoy. If it really didn't work, Bai Pu still had the limited wish bag. With a wish worth 185,000 spiritual energy points, it was no problem to wish for a specific extraction item, but it was a bit wasteful. Bai Pu wanted to keep this wish bag, and at a critical moment, get himself a part of the Immortal King set to complete the 4-piece set. So he asked Li Ling to buy it first, and it would be best if she could buy or exchange it. Li Ling said, no problem, I will do it right away. By the way, during the time you entered the spirit world, a major event happened in Jiangnan Base City. The Special Service Bureau asked me to notify you as soon as possible. Chapter 390 Southwest Jungle. What's the big deal? Bai Pu asked. Li Ling briefly said, in the mutant jungle southwest of Jiangnan Base City, there is an abnormal phenomenon of a large number of mutant beasts gathering. Some people have witnessed the shadow of a giant monster. It is suspected that there is a new spiritual plane that partially overlaps with the real world. A new junction. Bai Pu's eyes flashed with interest. A junction can provide too many benefits. If the conditions of the junction are right, it can be built into a comprehensive place for awakened people to practice and trade. Every awakened person who enters the junction needs to pay spiritual energy points, which means a steady stream of income. It can only be said that a new junction is suspected to have been created. According to the amplitude of the psychic particle fluctuations, this should be an intermediate junction. Li Ling said, the authorities have already sent a special operations brigade to investigate the southwest jungle, and at the same time recruited capable intermediate awakeners to go with them. A-level special agents like you are of course among the recruits. The official Special Operations Brigade will definitely have no problem dealing with mutant beasts in the wilderness area. Therefore, the official recruitment of powerful intermediate awakeners should be to enter the new junction as the first batch and gain control of the junction. Bai Pu said. Li Ling nodded. If I gain control of the junction, how will the benefits be distributed? It's not like they will just give me a commendation or something and send me off, right? Bai Pu said. That's definitely not the case. There is a precedent. Li Ling said, 3 years ago, Zulong, the deputy leader of the 2nd Special Service Group, seized a low-level junction Silent City. The government helped Zulong operate and manage it, and the income generated, in addition to paying the salaries of management and security personnel, all went into Zulong's account. That's great. Bai Pu smiled. For the country, they don't care about the psychic points produced by the junction. They are concerned about fighting crime and can't let the junction become a hiding place for awakened criminals. Therefore, when a new junction appears, the government helps operate and manage it, which actually puts the junction under official supervision to ensure that criminals don't sneak in and hide. Bai Pu nodded to show that he understood. The few junctions owned by the Superstar Alliance were all under official supervision because of the exposure of the last incident of harboring criminals. As for whether there are any junctions in secret, there must be, and they must be high-level junctions. Otherwise, where would an organization like Zhaixinglao that is mostly composed of fierce criminals hide? Bai Pu originally planned not to set foot in the wilderness area before becoming a high-level awakener, so as not to be ambushed by the masters of the star-picking tower of the Superstar Alliance. However, this time, the official special forces took action, and the people who wanted to come to the star-picking tower would not dare to come. Bai Pu made a video call to ask about the situation of Blood Spider. When Bai Pu was in the Blood and Flesh Plague, distorted world, Blood Spider made 2 more spiritual explorations and has now returned. After learning about the official recruitment of intermediate awakeners, Blood Spider did not make a 3rd spiritual exploration, but stayed in Zichen, waiting for Bai Pu to return, and then set off together. Bai Pu made another batch of anti-aging cream, and then collected several blue clothes that Li Ling helped him buy. He had already rested enough in Qin's palace, so there was no need to rest anymore. He took Blood Spider and joined the official special forces and headed towards the southwest jungle. This time, I really met a few familiar faces. In addition to Yuan Tang, Yuan Yu and other teammates of the Special Service Group 6. Feng He, Haoshan, Long Chen. The top intermediate awakeners of the college competition smelled the scent and almost all came. They are not official special agents, but they all come for the interests of their families and forces. If they successfully obtain the control of the border, they will turn this new border into the private property of their families. The official wants to sign a contract with them for management? Impossible. The official cannot prevent these people from entering the border and destroying the unspoken rules of convention. They just refuse them to follow the special forces. Those large chaebols and family forces have inextricable connections both at home and abroad. If they unite and hinder the official in many things, the state machine may not work well, giving foreign hostile forces an opportunity to take advantage of it. Therefore, the official can only take action against certain large families and consortiums when they get solid evidence, so that other Jebel forces will have nothing to say. The Superstar Alliance also sent out masters, and the leader among them was Wu Chen. The masters led by Wu Chen are all innocent on the surface and can withstand official inspections. Sitting in the open jeep, Bai Pu looked at the scenery outside the window. The main color of the wilderness area in the psychic era is green. The vitality of plants has been greatly enhanced, and the growth rate has greatly accelerated. Many plants have developed spirituality and evolved into the so-called mutated demon plants with many strange abilities. At the end of the green plain in front, a dense green shadow can be vaguely seen. That is the southwest jungle. Bai Pu and others got off the car and walked in front. Behind them were the members of the Special Brigade, who got off the car and walked together. This jungle can almost be called a primitive forest. It seems that there is no end. There are only tall trees and entangled vines in sight. The thick fallen leaves under the feet have accumulated to form a thick layer of humus, which is soft as if stepping on the internal organs of some animal. The occasional roar of the ape-hoofed beast adds a bit of wildness to the jungle. There is movement in front. There are hundreds of black-clawed wolf beasts running over. Suddenly, Bai Pu's teammate Yubei of the Special Service Group 6 spoke. His pupils were blue and wide, and he looked far away as if he had the ability to see through things. After a few seconds, Bai Pu felt the ground tremble slightly, and the trees rustled. Prepare for battle. Instructor Xiang Yinghua, who led the team, shouted. The secret archers followed the command to change their formation and soon formed 3 rows. The first row drew their bows and strung them, and the second row prepared to take arrows. This is a jungle, not suitable for the secret archers. If a wolf beast rushes into the crowd, please take action from the special service team. Instructor Xiang Yinghua said. Deputy Team Leader Yuan Tang smiled and said, Instructor Xiang is polite. With your strength as a high-level awakener, there will definitely be no problem. Xiang Yinghua smiled slightly, just in case. Amid the rustling sound, a giant wolf as strong as a buffalo appeared in the gap between the trees. The giant wolf's claws were black, and the claws were half a foot long when they burst out, which was like 4 or 5 sharp small daggers. First row, fire. An officer ordered. Swish, swish, swish. Arrows shot out like raindrops. Some of the arrows were blocked by the trees, and some were dodged. But most of the arrows still hit the target, and the black-clawed wolf beast fell dead on the spot. Chapter 391 Fei Wei's Guidance. Blood Spider was a little surprised. Mutants are different from awakened ones. They have very strong vitality and high attack power. In terms of hard attributes, they are stronger than awakened ones of the same level. This black claw wolf beast, although the template is just ordinary and the level is only level 6, but its health value is as high as 2,400 points. It is higher than the ordinary enhanced elites of the same level. If there's a flaw, the black claw wolf beast has extremely low spiritual attributes. It only has some instinct skills such as biting and clawing. It has no professional energy bar and cannot learn skills. However, such a black claw wolf beast with more than 2,000 health points fell to death on the spot under a round of volleys from the first row of the secret archer troops. Blood Spider couldn't help wondering if he could withstand the volley. The answer is no. With so many arrows shooting at the same time, there is no room to dodge at all, and he can only take it hard. Unless the space-cutting secret is activated to escape into the void. Bai Pu was much calmer. His defense is extremely high. When the arrows of the secret archer unit fall on him, they will be weakened to a very low number after going through multiple damage reductions such as adaptive evolution, equipment enhancement level, and armor. Bai Pu also has the skill, Skin of Steel, which can be activated with very little Blood River Dao Qi. After the secret archer has undergone triple damage reduction, the active ability of the Skin of Steel will reduce the damage fixedly, and the defense cannot be broken at all. Many online game novels have written about the plot of players besieging bosses. Even the lowest level players can participate. As long as they can deal 1 point of damage to the boss, they can use infinite resurrection and human wave tactics to pile the boss to death. But the premise is that they can cause 1 point of damage to the boss. The problem is that the secret archer unit now causes 0 damage to Bai Pu. So Bai Pu is quite calm and doesn't worry about what will happen if he encounters the siege of the secret archer. As the first black claw wolf beast fell, a rustling sound rang out, and hundreds of black claw wolf beasts emerged from the woods. Beep. After a quick whistle, an awakened officer standing next to the archer unit raised his hand and cast a large-scale buff skill. A circle of blue light covered the secret archer unit, and their arrows seemed to have a blue sheen. Bai Pu was in the unit, so he was naturally also affected by the buff. You have gained the buff state, Guidance of the Flying Guard. Your ranged physical attack critical hit value increases by 25 points, and your shooting accuracy increases by 1 level, not exceeding the advanced level 6. Guidance of the Flying Guard lasts for 180 seconds. During this period, your ranged physical attack will cause an additional 6 points of true damage to the target. Bai Pu's eyes narrowed slightly. Okay, I may have spoken a little loudly just now. The official really has something. Swish, swish, swish. The second row of secret archers shot arrows. This time, the proportion of critical hits and vital hits increased significantly, and those black claw wolf beasts fell one after another. These black claw wolf beasts were fearless and rushed forward with difficulty under the rain of arrows. Are these monsters driven by people? Instructor Xiang Yinghu frowned slightly. A group of wolf beasts was nothing. Instructor Xiang was more curious. In the real world, who dared to go against the authorities? Impossible. Even the Superstar Alliance didn't dare to be so arrogant. I don't know. How about I sneak over and take a look? Yuan Tang pushed his sunglasses. Okay, be careful. I'll come over after I deal with this group of wolf beasts. Instructor Xiang Yinghu said. Deputy Team Leader Yuan Tang lowered his body, and the green light on his shoulder guard flashed. His body suddenly turned into a leopard. There were beige spots on his back. The leopard incarnated by Deputy Team Leader Yuan Tang waved his claws, and when he lowered his body, he became illusory. He sneaked around the group of black claw wolf beasts and sneaked forward. Beep. There was another whistle. The second row of secret archers squatted after shooting, and the third row of secret archers who had been ready to go aimed together. Almost without a pause, another wave of arrows rained down. Beep, a long whistle sounded. The first row of secret archers had already prepared, and immediately stood up and shot the prepared arrows. The 3 rows of secret archers seemed to form a machine that never stopped, shooting the attacking wolf beasts coldly and fatally. Too powerful. Blood Spider was a little shocked. There were about 300 secret archers present, and the attacking wolf beasts numbered more than 100. Under normal circumstances, if 3 secret archers fought against a black claw wolf beast, even if they could win, it would be a hard battle. But now, it was a completely one-sided massacre. Occasionally, a black claw wolf beast rushed to the front with a few arrows, and naturally the special agents of the Special Service Group 6 could easily deal with it. The one who shot was Full Moon Chu Xiaoman. She lifted up her purple skirt, took out 2 golden pistols from the slit, and fired with 2 guns. With the recoil of the guns, there was a turbulent wave. There was also a black claw wolf beast with residual blood, trying to sneak attack from the side. However, a flying knife shot past and accurately nailed into its eye socket. The one who did it was Bai Yu Qingming. He always had a low sense of presence, and it was unexpected that he had such a flying knife skill. However, Bai Pu knew that these special agents of the Special Service Bureau were not ordinary awakeners. They were elites carefully selected by the official. Most of them came from poor families, and very few had a background in large families. They became awakeners very late, often during college or even after college graduation. The Special Service Bureau recruits members mainly based on the efficiency and evaluation of the completion of the Spirit World mission. Generally speaking, members who complete the Spirit World mission will either have a good brain or are strong enough, so it is mostly worth recruiting them. Bai Pu's teammates, Bai and Tizhen, who were originally only level 5, have already risen to level 6 and started to hone their strength, preparing to make another breakthrough in the professional plane. As for Yuanyu, she is different. Born in a big family, she is a lazy dog who likes to lie down. She is still level 5. She is too lazy to go to the spirit world to upgrade. She is addicted to online games and dramas every day. If Bai Pu hadn't been involved in this operation, Yuanyu would not be happy to come. First, Bai Pu is more beautiful than the idols in the drama who have turned on beauty filters. Second, this is probably the first collective action of the first team of the Special Service Group 6. It is unreasonable for her not to participate. The battle soon came to an end. Suddenly, Yu Qingming looked up, his blue and white pupils looked into the distance, and said, "The one who drove the wolves to attack us is a humanoid creature. He wants to run now. Team leader Yuan Tang has already fought with him. What's the situation?" Instructor Xiang asked. The team leader is at a disadvantage, and the opponent is very strong. But the team leader should focus on delaying and can hold on for a while. Support immediately. Instructor Xiang said, "Comrades from the Special Service Bureau, you are faster, go ahead, and the troops will follow." If you're listening to this novel on a channel other than Fanfic World, it means they downloaded and uploaded it without effort. We cordially invite you to visit our channel, Mundo Fanfic Novelis. There you'll find the original version of this story and you can explore many other novels of various genres. We're waiting for you to immerse yourself in a world of incredible novels. Chapter 392 Old Acquaintances. Yuanyu and Bai were both agile, and they were worried about the captain's safety, so they rushed over first. Blood Spider was more agile than the two, and he also let go of his speed, flashing through the woods like a shadow. Tizhen touched his nose awkwardly and looked at Bai Pu. "We are slower, why don't we just follow the troops and move slowly?" However, Bai Pu had already taken off into the air, wrapped in blood-colored wind, and rushed to the top of a primeval forest like a giant eagle, then turned and rushed forward, like gliding. His speed was the fastest among all people. "Oh, sure enough, he is different from us." Tizhen stopped talking halfway. After all, he is the champion of the college competition. Instructor Xiang almost watched Bai Pu grow up, and said with emotion, "Gangxin's growth rate is definitely the fastest I have ever seen. Even the former genius Zhuling of the Special Service Bureau can't compare to him. Maybe I should focus on my secondary profession." Tizhen smiled bitterly. Compared with a monster-level genius like Bai Pu, he really couldn't see the hope of catching up, so he might as well open another track. Horizontal ellipsis. Bai Pu's figure whistled, and he quickly passed Yuanyu, Bai, and then the Blood Spider. At this time, he was not using the ultimate skill, Gangfang Falling Blade, but the special effect of Gangfang's ultimate skill, Gangbu. Each time it is used, 20 points of Blood River Dao Qi are consumed. If you change direction several times in the air, that is, flying in the air, each time an additional 50% of Blood River Dao Qi will be consumed. Generally, There is no need to fly in the air several times in a row. There is no point except to show off. Bai Pu chose to use the big trees and the ground for support. Every time he touched the ground with his toes, he flew forward a long distance. Yuan Iu and Yabe looked at Yangtze passing over their heads, looked at each other, and were both surprised. I have also watched the games of the college championship, and I know that this kid has made great progress. But I didn't experience it until I experienced it myself. Yuan Iu muttered, "How long has he been awakened? Am I too lazy?" Soon Yuan Iu decided not to think about this question anymore, because she was too lazy to think. Blood Spider watched Bai Pu pass by her, raised her hand and placed a dragon hunting mark. Her speed increased suddenly, and she took a ride. However, even with the speed of the dragon hunting mark, the distance between her and Bai Pu was getting farther and farther. Fortunately, the battle between Deputy Leader Yuan Tang and the mastermind who drove the wolf pack was not far away. Bai Pu rushed to the scene, and his eyes suddenly condensed slightly. He knew this mastermind. An old acquaintance. He was tall, 2 meters tall, and his whole body looked like a skinned human, with dark red muscle tissue and pale tendons. This was clearly the inner demon, the boss of the Oath World, the subordinate of the Black Swamp Demon Emperor, the unlucky guy who escaped after falling into the demon abyss, Demon General Guije. At this time, Demon General Guije, who didn't know what opportunity, grew to level 5 enhanced leader. Deputy Leader Yuan Tang confronted him head-on, which was quite strenuous. His health had dropped by half, and there were messy knife marks and blood on his body. Fortunately, Deputy Leader Yuan Tang adopted a mobile fighting method, with a judge's pen in his hand pointing from time to time. As long as it hits Guige's body, Guige's movements will be slightly paused, just like the legendary acupuncture. This kind of fighting method with slight control in the general attack makes Guige very uncomfortable. Guige has a demon body that is not afraid of swords and knives. If the limbs are cut off, they can grow back. When fighting against human warriors, it usually exchanges injuries for injuries and attacks for attacks. Deputy Leader Yuan Tang is exactly the type that does not deal much damage, but the attack comes with abnormal status, which is very annoying. Guige also has no intention of fighting, and his small eyes scan around, trying to escape. Bai Pu landed on the ground with a bang, and a large number of dead branches and leaves flew around. He held the big sword horizontally and took Guige's hooked big knife for Deputy Leader Yuan Tang. "Guige, long time no see, your arms and legs have grown." The familiar voice made Guige tremble all over. Guige's bulging frog eyes examined Bai Pu. Compared to the last time in the demon abyss, Bai Pu has become much stronger, with a sturdy figure and a different temperament. However, the golden bull ghost armor that Bai Pu was wearing, the vaguely familiar facial features, and the familiar smell from his nose still reminded Guige of the human in front of him. Damn human. If it weren't for him, how could he have fallen from a denified demon general to such a wild place? Guige's eyes turned blood red, and with a wild roar, he stepped on the ground, slid around Bai Pu, and slashed at Bai Pu with his 2 swords. Bai Pu didn't have any hobbies of reminiscing about the past, and he suddenly opened the Blood River territory, forcefully restricting Guige's speed. Guige is a strength-oriented enhanced leader, and agility is originally a weakness. Being covered by Bai Pu's Blood River territory, he suddenly felt a heavy feeling of being stuck in a quagmire and unable to move. It was shocked, and then there were 2 loud clangs. Guige felt the hooked broadsword tremble violently, almost flying out of his hand, and the tiger's mouth was also in great pain. Looking down, the knuckles of both hands had been cracked. So strong? I don't believe it. Guige certainly couldn't believe that the human warrior who was chased by him like a stray dog was so powerful now. Bai Pu slashed with a sword. Guige didn't believe it, and his 2 swords formed a cross. However, Bai Pu's sword was full of the illusion of a mountain collapse, and it was extremely powerful. Guige's 2 swords flew out of his hand, and the whole person fell backwards and crashed into the trunk of a big tree. In a head-on confrontation, Guige was crushed. As a level 5 strength specialized enhanced leader, Guige's strength is really high, reaching 77 points. But facing Bai Pu, whose strength is as high as 101 points and whose offensive power judgment value is as high as 151 points, it still formed a ruthless crushing. Bai Pu performed the gang step with his feet, a flash of blood, and a thunderous sound. He instantly rushed in front of Guij and chopped him down again with a knife. In the Blood River territory, Guij couldn't even dodge. He screamed as half of his body was cut off, and blood gushed out. But his screams didn't continue, because Bai Pu's second sword, which came from the wind, slashed horizontally and cut off his head. The whole process was like cutting melons and vegetables. The blood spider who had just arrived was surprised. Yuan Tang, who was resting and bandaging behind him, was stunned. After a while, Yuan Tang walked in front of Bai Pu, smiled bitterly and said, "Gang Xin, your strength has completely surpassed me." "Well, Guij has a powerful control skill. Did you use it on you?" Bai Pu asked. Bai Pu beat Guij so badly just now, but Guij didn't use the enhanced version of vibrato break, which obviously had been used. "Are you talking about the skill that roars and emits sound waves?" Zhen Dao nodded, still feeling a lingering fear. "I was almost killed by him in an instant. Luckily I have a passive ability that can save my life." The messy knife marks on Zhen Dao's body were obviously the result of a combination of sound break and magic blade slash. As a fragile hero with a strong spirit, it was amazing that he didn't get killed directly. Chapter 393 I've become a little stronger. The battle is over. Yuan Yu and Yubei rushed to the battlefield, and Yuan Yu said in surprise. Yubei used the blue and white eyes to observe from a distance throughout the whole process. He could not see the specific details of the battle clearly, but he could see the general idea. He only knew that Bai Pu attacked and the enemy flew backwards. Bai Pu chased him in an instant and chopped the enemy to death with 2 knives. So he was still very curious about the process of the battle, and even more curious about Bai Pu's current strength limit. "Well, it's been solved," Yuan Tang said with a wry smile. A level 5 enhanced leader didn't last more than 3 knives in the Blood River territory of Steelheart. Yuan Yu and Yubei were both silent. "Originally, I thought you, an A-level special agent, were careless, but now I know that guy really has a good eye." Yuan Yu sighed. "Sure enough, the man who can kill the hidden snake is extraordinary, which makes my sister a little tempted." Blood Spider quietly asked in the team channel, "Did you become stronger again this time when you went to the world of blood and flesh plague?" Bai Pu, a little bit stronger. Bai Pu's level was raised to level 6. He had a level suppression against Guij, and his damage increased by 10%. This was also the important reason why Guij was killed with 3 swords. In addition, the equipment of Iron Wool Knee Pad was updated. After being conferred the title of Duke, the powerful emblem gain of all attributes plus 10 and health plus 1000 were all manifestations of Bai Pu's strengthening. Not long after, Tizhen came with a large army. "Oh, the corpse of the enhanced leader level demon." Xiang Yinghu sighed. "Put it away well, it's worth a lot of money." According to the prior agreement, the corpses of the group of Black Claw Wolf beasts were taken back by the military for disposal. The corpse of the demon general Guij was handled by the 6th group of the Special Service Bureau. Guij was not wearing any armor or anything like that. This tough man who was not afraid of swords and knives always went into battle in a vacuum. The only equipment that could be looted was Guij's pair of curved swords. Ghost Leather's hook side, left, unsealed, equipment quality, green, suit, equipment position, one-handed, equipment requirements, basic strength 30, basic endurance 30, attributes, attack power 920, additional skill 1, strange shape, passive. Due to the special form of this weapon, the wearer makes it more difficult for the enemy to dodge when attacking, dodge value -20, additional skill 2, hook lock, passive. Due to the special form of this weapon, the wearer's grab judgment of throwing skills when attacking plus 20. Durability 55/60, description, this knife is not something that ordinary people can use well, you'd better practice it. The other one, of course, is Ghost Leather's hook side, right, which is also in an unsealed state. Bai Pu held 2 weapons, which was almost like holding 2 fire sticks. However, he could see the suit skills. Suit, Ghost Leather's Ambition 2-2, Suit Skill 1, increases the wearer's strength by 15 and agility by 15. Set Skill 2, Magic Blade Slash, charge up to launch a violent slash attack, causing a large amount of slashing damage to the front melee range. The higher the enhancement level of this set, the stronger the power of the Magic Blade Slash. As a weapon set, In addition to increasing strength and agility by 15 points each, it also provides an upgradable and enhanced output set skill, which is pretty good. However, it is still a little worse than the double daggers of the Blood Reaver, set in the hands of the Blood Spider. Good stuff. I'll put 2 drops of golden beeswax on it later, turn it back to the sealed state, and then sell it. Anvil said. 1 drop of golden beeswax is not cheap. Bai Pu said. That's for sure, it's equivalent to the price of a top-grade gold equipment, and you can't buy it without 30,000 or 50,000 spiritual points. The key is that many sellers who are lucky enough to get golden beeswax don't want spiritual points at all, just exchange for what they need. Anvil said. Bai Pu frowned slightly and simply threw this pair of useless set weapons into the storage space. Just put it between the Doomsday Spear and the Dark Gold Tower Shield, and let these 2 big brothers teach it a lesson as an equipment. Then again, why did this guy attack us? Could it be someone's instructions? Xiang Yinghuo is very sensitive to this, perhaps because of the vigilance that a soldier should have. Gaxin seems to recognize this monster, maybe he came here for revenge. Deputy Team Leader Yuan Tang pushed his glasses and gave an analysis. I tried it. Bai Pu said, I called it before attacking it. It didn't recognize me at first, but later realized it was me. Based on this judgment, I don't think it came here deliberately because of me. Oh, I'm kidding. Deputy Team Leader Yuan Tang certainly didn't mean to blame Bai Pu. If it's not a personal grudge, then it must be someone's instructions. Xiang Yinghuo frowned and said, Zhao Li, write a report about the encounter with Demon General Guij and the Black Claw Wolf Beast Pack this time, and I have to report it. Yes. The young officer who cast Guidance of the Flying Guard straightened his back, raised his head, and answered loudly. Let me add one more thing. Bai Pu said with some worry, the Demon General Guij escaped from the border of the Demon Abyss last time. A very powerful giant beast also disappeared with him. Well, it was a cub of the giant beast. What's there to be afraid of a giant beast cub? Yuan Yu asked with a smile, what kind of giant beast is it? Red-eyed snapping turtle. Bai Pu said. Yuan Yu's glasses widened. Yabe, Tizhen and others beside him were confused. What kind of mutant beast is the red-eyed snapping turtle? How come I have never heard of it? It is obvious that Yuan Yu has heard of the name of red-eyed snapping turtle. She murmured, how is this possible? Red-eyed snapping turtle. Even if it is a cub, it is impossible to be locked up in a low-level border. Instructor Xiang Yinghuo frowned. He seemed to know a thing or two, and couldn't help but say, someone witnessed the shadow of a giant monster. Could it be the escaped red-eyed snapping turtle? It is very likely. Everyone reached a consensus. If it is the red-eyed alligator snapping turtle, then it is understandable that the mutant beasts in the wilderness area are gathering. They are not going to attack the city, but to escape. As the superior, the red-eyed alligator snapping turtle will make these mutant beasts feel fear from the bottom of their hearts. Xiang Yinghuo concluded. Beside him, the young officer named Zhao Li was recording Xiang Yinghuo's summary. Bai Pu was still curious about why he was recording, and the next second Xiang Yinghuo's voice rang again. Zhao Li, write another analysis report on the red-eyed alligator snapping turtle later, and I want to hand it in. Yes. Zhao Li agreed loudly. Bai Pu finally understood why Zhao Li remembered so well. It turned out that it was a habit. The topic turned to another topic. I think, if someone is instructing, what is the other party's purpose? Bai Pu said, the mastermind behind the scenes should be clear about the combat effectiveness of the military's secret archer unit, and know that this group of black-clawed wolf beasts will not play any role. At most, it can only delay us for some time. Could it be that the other party's purpose is to delay our time? Xiang Yinghuo slapped his thigh. Let's go as soon as possible. Chapter 394, Threats from the Wilderness Area. After entering the southwest jungle, the weirdness and horror of the wilderness area really unfolded. Be careful of the red willow forest in front. Yuan Tang pointed to a tall red willow tree in front of him. Look, the branches of these willows are covered with barbs. Don't they look like thorn whips? This is the mutant demon plant whip willow. Being whipped by it is a light punishment. If you are hugged by the red willow, it will be a torture of thousands of cuts. Can the mutant demon plant use detection skills? Bai Pu did not act rashly and asked first. He was worried that using detection would trigger the demon plant's aggressiveness. Yes, Yuan Tang said. Bai Pu threw on 9 chapters at the first big willow tree. Whip willow, elite level 7, race, demon tree demon, attributes, Strength 97, Agility 24, Endurance 113, Spirit 20, Skill 1, Resilient Bark, Passive, Whip Willow gains an additional 700 health points and a fixed 150 points of physical damage reduction, and doubles the ranged physical damage reduction. Fire damage and physical attacks of cutting type will ignore the fixed damage reduction effect and cause the Whip Willow to take extra damage. Skill 2, Barb, Passive, the branches of the Whip Willow are covered with hardened spikes, and physical attacks will cause a stackable bleeding effect. Skill 3, Willow Leaf Flying Knife, Talon Skill, the Whip Willow shoots sharp leaves, causing sharp damage to targets at a distance. Skill 4, Deep Rooted, Passive, the Whip Willow has a well-developed root system, which will absorb various forms of nutrients and quickly restore health. The Whip Willow cannot move. Bai Pu actually detected all the attributes and skills of this mutant demon plant at once. I don't know if it is because of the characteristics of the plant and the low spirit. Judging from the composition of the skill group, the Whip Willow seems to be a deformed awakener profession, with few skills, mostly passive skills, and the inability to move is a big negative limitation. In exchange, it has powerful attributes beyond the ordinary elite template, and strong survivability. No wonder there is no awakener to cut down such a large area of mutant demon plants. The team continues to move forward. In the jungle ahead, a patch of colorful bushes appeared, 4 or 5 meters high, with a number of scroll-shaped objects hanging from them. Don't get close to the pitcher plant. This thing evolved from a pitcher plant. It originally preyed on insects, but after becoming a mutated demon plant, it can prey on wild beasts and humans. Yuan Tang reminded. Bai Pu took a closer look. He had read books about alchemy in real life and knew that the top of the pitcher plant would secrete dew with a special fragrance. Collecting and boiling it could produce a B-level pharmaceutical material, starworm dew. Starworm dew can sell psychic points and is also tempting to awakeners. Every year, there are careless awakeners who are devoured by the pitcher plant because of the temptation of starworm dew. If the situation was not inappropriate, Bai Pu would have wanted to stay and collect a lot of it. Collecting raw materials is a required course for alchemists. Suddenly, there was a scream at the end of the team. Everyone looked back and was startled. 7 or 8 colorful flowers suddenly sprang out from the ground. Each of them was as big as a millstone, with a flesh-red mouth in the center of the petals, ready to devour anyone. Several secret archers were unable to dodge and were swallowed by these man-eating flowers, which instantly wrapped them tightly. Judging from the frequency of the petals wriggling, the people inside must be in danger. It's the earth capture flower. This kind of demon plant is best at hiding. Hurry up and save people. Yuan Tang's face changed. Bai Pu reacted quickly, and stepped over in a flash of Gengbu, slashing with his sword, and hitting the bucket-thick flower stem of the earth capture flower with the power of the collapse of mountains. However, this blow that was enough to cause a mountain to collapse fell on the flower stem of the earth capture flower, but it did not cause the expected flower stem to break. The flower stem of the earth capture flower was greatly elongated and tilted, but it did not break. Bai Pu felt that this sword was like hitting a piece of taffy, or like hitting a stream of water. The actual damage caused was not even as good as the damage of Bai Pu's ordinary attack. Use softness to overcome hardness. Bai Pu muttered to himself, as if he had realized something. But saving people was the most important thing. Bai Pu didn't have time to think about it, and directly activated the additional skill cutting of the chainsaw sword. Following the momentum of the chopping, he pulled and slashed backwards. From chopping to cutting. The former is like a big axe, and the latter is like a saw. Under the cutting and slashing of the serrated blade, the flower stem of the ground-catching flower broke open. From the wound, bright red blood flowed out, which looked quite strange. The flower stem of the ground-catching flower broke, and the petals opened weakly. A secret archer rolled out from the heart of the flower. He was already unconscious. Bai Pu backhanded another sword, and with the special effect of repeated cutting, he cut off the flower stem of another ground-catching flower again and rescued another secret archer. Blood Spider's rescue was simpler than Bai Pu's. She directly activated the space-cutting secret, aimed at the heart of the ground-catching flower and slashed it, temporarily removing the petals at the target position, and then used her high agility to pull out the trapped secret archer soldier. The power of the space-cutting was fleeting, and the center of the ground-catching flower returned to normal, but it was already empty. After the surrounding soldiers avoided the ground-catching flower's range of activities, they immediately reorganized the team. The awakened officer Xiao Li once again applied Flying Guard's guidance to the team, and arrows rained down in the sound of mechanical constant whistles. The ground-catching flower has an additional absorption effect and long-range physical damage, but Flying Guard's guidance will cause an additional 6 points of real damage, not physical damage. When the ground-catching flower is devouring, it cannot dodge and is a veritable living target. After just one round of shooting, a ground-catching flower fell down with a whine. After dealing with the ground-catching flower, the medical soldier stepped forward and injected the life-restoring potion into the unlucky secret archers, and applied it on the surface of the skin to clean the wounds. Xiang Yinghu could only order the medical soldiers to carry the wounded on a stretcher and continue to move forward. In this situation, we need to race against time. When the comrades escorting the Special Service Bureau find the location of the mysterious junction, they will have completed their mission this time and can evacuate. As for sending a team to escort a wounded back temporarily, this genius idea was just proposed by a team leader, and he was severely scolded by instructor Xiang. This is a wilderness area full of dangers. The biggest advantage of the awakened special forces is that they are organized and in formation, so they can be invincible in the wilderness area. If the team is separated, it is possible to be eaten by the monsters in the wilderness area or killed by the daring awakened criminals. Fortunately, the wounded are all awakened, and their digitized bodies can withstand more damage than ordinary people. As long as they are not continuously attacked by mutant monsters, their injuries will not worsen. After a long period of exploration, the leading officer finally made a discovery. It's very close, 15 degrees southeast, 3 kilometers. There is a strong space fluctuation reaction. Chapter 395 Abnormal Space Area. With a clear direction, the marching speed increased a lot. Along the way, large giant beast claws can be seen on the humus on the ground. We must quickly take over this junction. We can't let the monsters in the junction appear in a swaggering manner. Xiang Yinghu felt a little worried. The size of these giant beast claws alone was enough to judge their threat. Now the junction has just been formed not long ago, and there are not many monsters that have landed on the Earth through this junction. In just 15 minutes, the team came to the area where the space fluctuates violently. Look, there is an obvious space distortion phenomenon ahead. The officer who was in charge of leading the team and acting as a guide said, pointing to the valley in front. The valley ahead has a phenomenon that violates physics. Conical hills are suspended in the air, as if they are held up by invisible big hands. Around these conical hills, there are some scattered stone chips, rotating around the field regularly. This is also good news, indicating that this junction is in an ownerless state. Measure the strength. Xiang Yinghu ordered. The leading officer took out a long instrument and pressed a few buttons. Suddenly, the values on it jumped. Spiritual pressure 109,350 kilopascal, equivalent to psychic particle strength between 3.3 to 3.5. Xiang Yinghu looked at the Special Service Group 6. It's about the same as the data calculated by the experts before. This means that the spiritual plane connected to this junction is an intermediate plane. Of course, the strength is top-notch among intermediate planes. The large troops can't enter, so we can only rely on you. I can't guarantee to complete the mission, I can only say that I will try my best. Yuan Tang said on behalf of the Special Service Group 6. I will retreat with the wounded. Try to keep the psychic cameras distributed throughout the process. We will provide you with expert remote support at any time. Xiang Yinghu said. Finally, he looked at Bai Pu and said, I am confident that the Secret Service can seize the authority of the border this time, mainly because of you, the college champion. Come on, your competitors have all been defeated by you. Coach Xiang, don't put pressure on my team members. Yuan Tang waved his hands repeatedly. We don't know what the situation is at the border, and the place where the space overlaps is definitely not just in China. It may not only be Chinese who come in, but also foreign intermediate awakeners. Gaxin won the National College Championship, not the World Champion. Don't put so much pressure on him. The space is not absolutely flat, but roughly flat, which can be understood as a person's open palm. When the spiritual world overlaps with the real world on Earth, the first overlap must be the raised areas of the palm. For example, the place in front of everyone is one of the overlapping areas, and the whole of China has only heard of this place. But in other countries, because the intelligence is not transmitted in time, the specific situation is not clear, and it is likely to exist. The intermediate awakening geniuses of other countries will also enter the new border and try to seize control authority. Once you seize control of the junction and become the first generation of the master of the junction, you can use the junction as an affiliated subspace of the Earth, set up a space channel, and put it on the normal track of human control. Xiang Yinghu smiled and watched Bai Pu and others step by step towards the area of space anomaly. The closer they got to the space anomaly area, the smaller Bai Pu and others became in the eyes of Xiang Yinghu and the soldiers. This is not a real reduction, but a visual deviation caused by the asymmetry of space distance. Bai Pu and others seem to have only taken a few steps at this time, but in the conventional sense of the space distance on Earth, it is equivalent to walking several kilometers or dozens of kilometers. The farther the distance, the smaller it looks. When Bai Pu and others came into contact with the stone chips surrounding the outer periphery of the space anomaly area, they were already as small as dust. In Bai Pu's perception, they belonged to shrinking the Earth into an inch. With every step they took, the floating hills and swirling stone chips in front of them became much larger. After a few steps, the floating hills were as big as mountains, and the swirling stone chips were even like a space meteorite belt. With a slight flash of light, Bai Pu and others disappeared. Hello. Okay, communication is normal. Bai Pu adjusted the official psychic camera, then unfolded the virtual map to check the locations of several teammates. The psychic camera projected a dark map, which was almost completely covered by fog. Only the small area where Bai Pu was located showed the nearby terrain, swamp. Bai Pu himself was the big green dot in the center of the map. Blood Spider was in the north, and Yuan Tang was in the northwest. Yuan Yu and Yu Bai were both in the east. The four of them, including Bai Pu, were about 100 or 200 kilometers apart. Taizhen was unlucky, as he was alone in the west, more than 400 kilometers away. In the public chat channel, Yuan Tang's voice sounded, "The principle of proximity, two people will meet. Although this is a border area, there is no rule for leaving yet. To leave, you must use a forced teleportation item, so it is very dangerous. It's better to be careful. Who should I meet up with?" Taizhen asked innocently. "Be careful first, explore the surrounding map, and help us be a human street lamp." Yuan Yu's playful voice sounded, "When we get together, we will come to find you." Bai Pu was not worried about the problem of leaving, because this place is also a part of the real world, and he can also use the Duke emblem of the Fule family to teleport to the world of the flesh and blood plague. However, that basically loses the opportunity to seize the authority of the border area, which is equivalent to being out of the game. Bai Pu definitely doesn't want to do this unless it is absolutely necessary. Bai Pu keeps the psychic camera on his head and shoots from a bird's eye view. He first observed the surrounding situation. This swamp is not very deep, and the terrain is not flat. There are many raised highlands for walking. Of course, the depth of the dead water that is sunken is also unknown. Judging from the slightly dark color of the dead water, Bai Pu thinks it is not a good idea to step into it. The oxygen content is a bit high. Bai Pu slowed down his breathing. If it were an ordinary person, he would probably be intoxicated by oxygen, but the physique of the awakened person does not have to worry about the slight difference between the atmospheric composition here and that of the Earth. There was a light white mist in the sky above the swamp, and visibility was not very high. Bai Pu headed eastward, moving along the raised hard ground. The psychic camera on his head was also working, constantly photographing the surrounding situation and incorporating it into the virtual map. The area of the map that Bai Pu explored also became larger. Crash! Mud and water splashed everywhere, and a bloated monster suddenly crawled out of a deep pool. This monster was not like a human. It was made of mud and smelly water. The head was hidden in the chest cavity. Two red lights could be vaguely seen, which could be regarded as eyes. As soon as the mud monster appeared, it roared and rushed towards Bai Pu. Chapter 396 Hanggu Plain. Bai Pu threw out 9 chapters. Sludge Beast, Elite Level 6, Race, Elemental Deformed Monster, Attributes, Strength 75, Agility 20, Endurance 100, Spirit 10, Skill 1, Sludge Body, Elemental Race Talent, Sludge Beast has no conventional weakness, Skills 2-3, Energy Siphon, Suffocating Embrace, a Level 6 Elite, but only has 10 Spirit Points. Another deformed profession. Bai Pu frowned. I guess it has no emotions, why would it attack me? It's definitely not because it's jealous that I'm more handsome than it. It's probably because of the overlapping of space, and some abnormalities have occurred inside the border area, causing some neutral monsters that originally had no emotional tendencies to be frightened, and their instinct to protect the territory has increased, and their aggressiveness has also become stronger. Bai Pu just wanted to test the strength of this sludge beast. He took out the +8 chainsaw sword and strode forward to meet it. The sludge beast suddenly raised its two arms made of sludge, and suddenly a special suction force surged. The blood river fighting spirit in Bai Pu's body actually felt like it wanted to leave his body. You are affected by the sludge beast's instinctive skill, energy siphon, priority determination and progress. The sludge beast's energy siphon determination failed. Your energy will not be lost, but you still need to bear the earth attribute magic damage of the energy siphon. Good guy, it can actually absorb mana. Bai Pu stabbed the center of the palace with a sword. The sludge beast suddenly opened its arms and rushed towards Bai Pu's sword. Suffocating embrace. It is also the instinctive skill of the sludge beast. It turns into a thick pool of sludge, completely wrapping the enemy and trying to suffocate the enemy. However, Bai Pu's sword is not something that can be easily resisted. The secret of collapsing the mountain. With a loud bang, as if a bomb was buried, a large mass of sludge flew out of the sludge beast's chest, and a transparent hole appeared. You can even see the scenery on the opposite side through the hole. The sludge beast was stunned for a moment, then turned into a pool of mud, and flowed all over the ground with a splash. It was dead. The secret of collapsing mountains is quite useful against elemental races. Bai Pu felt that he was professional. Elemental races do not have vital points in the conventional sense, and generally speaking, they cannot be killed instantly by attacking vital points. However, the secret of collapsing mountains is regardless of whether the vital points are high or not, as long as the single damage exceeds 1/3 of the total health value, it will trigger an instant kill. If we understand it from a realistic perspective, Bai Pu's sword contains the secret of mountain collapse, and the shock force is strong enough to destroy the consciousness of the sludge beast to maintain its existence. In the corpse of the sludge beast, a dark yellow ball is slightly suspended. This small ball is about the size of a ping-pong ball and is translucent. You can vaguely see the inside of the dark yellow ball, and the turbid and sticky liquid is slowly flowing. This is the magic core of the elemental creature. Bai Pu has read a lot of alchemy books and met many alchemy masters. Now he is considered knowledgeable. He immediately put away the magic core of the sludge beast. This thing can be used to make alchemical puppets. Bai Pu continued to move forward. The psychic camera above his head also heard Yuan Yu shouting. "Oh my god, such a big egg. Is this a dinosaur egg? It must be a dinosaur egg. Incredible, incredible, this intersection is the world of dinosaurs, nuclear crisis. Dinosaurs, nuclear crisis? How are dinosaurs related to nuclear energy?" Bai Pu has been an awakener for too little time. Whenever he has time, he reads professional medical alchemy books. He is not completely clear about many spiritual planes. He usually searches for intelligence and does homework in a targeted manner before entering the world. Yuan Yu said quickly, "The dinosaur world is a large-scale fantasy plane. The key word of the background is time and space overlap. There is a crazy scientist named Nolan who has developed a time and space shuttle technology. With this technology, he went back to the ancient dinosaur era and established a scientific research base. But with the connection of the two timelines, time and space began to overlap, and the dinosaurs of the Cretaceous period appeared in the modern era." "Ah!" Yuan Yu screamed and the explanation was interrupted. Suddenly, everyone's heart was lifted. Yuan Tang was the calmest and said, "It's okay, she must have seen a bug. With her courage, she wouldn't be so scared even if she saw a dinosaur. Bugs, such big bugs." Yuan Yu's voice was crying, accompanied by the sound of gunfire from a pistol. "Hey, shooting bugs, what a waste." Tizhan said with a smile, "It's just a bug, just step on it to death." Yuan Yu said unhappily, "If you were here, you would be stepped on to death by it. Idiot." Bai Pu walked to the edge of the swamp, and in front of him was a relatively flat and open field. He saw a huge bone in front of him, like a small hill. Of course, according to Yuan Yu, this should be the leg bone of a dinosaur. Judging from the traces, this leg bone should have been lying here for several years. The psychic camera very intelligently named this field, Hanggu Plain, tentative name. The psychic cameras used by Bai Pu's teammates are all interconnected. Bai Pu named it Hanggu Plain, and other psychic cameras will be updated synchronously. This makes communication more convenient. "I've arrived." Hangu Plain, and I'll find you soon. Bai Pu looked at the map. He was about 20 kilometers away from the blue dot representing Yuan-Yu. Yuan-Yu's speed obviously increased, and he ran towards Bai Pu. Little brother Steelheart, help. The voice was a little panting, obviously in the midst of intense exercise. When Bai Pu and Yuan-Yu met, he clearly saw that the two full moons in front of Yuan-Yu were shaking violently as she ran wildly. Presumably, the two full moons behind her were even more swaying and colorful, so they attracted a large group of digging worms. Digging worms, a 6th-level ordinary template insect, are more than 10 meters in size, as thick as a bucket, and covered with dense scales. They swim like pythons, swift and silent. A flash of blood appeared under Bai Pu's feet, and thunderous sounds exploded, and he passed by Yuan-Yu. With a loud bang, Bai Pu landed in the center of the digging worms, first knocking away the digging worms around him, and then the great sword shook the ground to form the eye of the storm. The strong suction force sucked all the digging worms in. Then there was a volcanic appearance, bombardment. This time Bai Pu chose boxing, and the rich bloodlight gathered on the front of his fist, almost burning people's eyes. Boom! Bai Pu punched hard. The fan-shaped fist force, which was 3 or 4 meters wide and more than 10 meters in radius, completely covered the swarm of digging bugs that were attracted to the eye of the storm. The digging bugs in the center were directly killed by the shock. The digging bugs in the outer area were also seriously injured and slowed down. Yuan-Yu, who was panting, saw that a MT had come up, and without saying a word, he took out his golden double guns and fired a burst of shots. Soon, the swarm of digging bugs was wiped out. Chapter 397, Demetra. The ground was full of digging worm corpses. Bai Pu used his mental power to sense the worm core on the head of the digging worm. He then cut it with a dagger and took it out. The digging worm core is an alchemical material with earth attributes. Yuan-Yu breathed a sigh of relief. Little brother Steelheart, you are really powerful. You have broken my sister's perception of you again and again. In the outside world, Bai Pu killed the demon general Gui Jack, and Yuan-Yu only heard the description and did not see it with her own eyes. Now seeing Bai Pu take action and easily kill a group of terrible insects, Yuan-Yu has a more intuitive understanding of Bai Pu's improvement in strength. In fact, with your ability, you can kill this group of strange insects slowly. Bai Pu said. After all, they are just ordinary template insects. No, I'm allergic to insects. Yuan-Yu quickly denied it. After Bai Pu collected the worm cores, he also found a little unexpected harvest. From the body of a digging worm that was slightly larger, he cut out a long piece of crystal meat, which shone like fresh shrimp in the sun. It's a pity that it's just the ordinary template of the digging worm's precious meat. If it's the leader level, it can greatly enhance the training speed of defense skills, and it will be more valuable. Bai Pu waved his dagger and cut the precious meat into 2 strips. Sister Yuan-Yu, you have a share too. If Yuan-Yu hadn't attracted the monsters, Bai Pu wouldn't have been able to harvest so many insect cores. I don't want to eat it. Yuan-Yu retreated again and again, as if she had seen some dark cuisine. Bai Pu smiled and shook his head, and could only eat it himself. The digging worm's precious meat was chewy in the mouth, without any fishy smell, but with a fresh fragrance. After Bai Pu ate it, he immediately felt the psychic particles spreading in his body, and his heart quickly absorbed these enriched nutrients in the beating, generating new pure blood. What should we do now? How can we seize the control of the border area? Yuan-Yu said helplessly. We are in the dark, and we can only ask the residents here. Bai Pu said. Residents? Do you mean the Aborigines? Yuan-Yu shook her head repeatedly. This junction is from the dinosaur world, so it must be an extremely remote area. Apart from the strange insects and dinosaurs, I don't think there will be humans coming to such a place, and the road is blocked by the junction. The entrance of this junction in the dinosaur world is probably similar to the entrance of the Demon Abyss junction in the Heart Demon world. Both are rarely visited places with endless abyss cliffs. In the early days, there may be some tourists and extreme challengers who come here out of curiosity, but as the reputation of the abyss there is no return spreads, it must be like Bermuda and other places that people are afraid of and stay away from. I don't mean to look for human residents. Bai Pu pointed to the insect corpses on the ground. These can also be regarded as local residents, but their intelligence is too low and there is no way to communicate, so I killed them all. Dong, dong, dong. When Bai Pu was talking, there was a slight vibration on the ground. He looked in the direction of the sound. Behind the plain mound in front of him, A giant beast with a body length of more than 10 meters and a height of 6 meters was staring at them step by step. This giant beast crawls on 4 legs, and the 2 giant blades on its back extend from the back of its neck to its tail like sails. Diplodocus, a dinosaur that does not exist in real history. Shouldn't this dinosaur be herbivorous? Yuanayu's voice trembled a little. It shouldn't actively attack us. That's hard to say. We have stepped into its territory. And this place has just become a border area, and there must be unusual changes in the world. The originally gentle and harmless animals will also become manic. Bai Pu said. Then what are you waiting for? Hurry up and leave its territory. Yuanayu didn't dare to fight with Diplodocus. This monster, which is as tall as a moving building, is too oppressive. No, it is the local resident with a certain degree of wisdom that I am looking for. Bai Pu smiled, raised his big sword upside down, and strode towards the Diplodocus. Treacherous, level 6 leader, race, beast land beast, attributes, strength 80, agility 30, stamina 150, spirit 25, skill 1, huge monster, passive, each point of stamina attribute of Treacherous provides 70 health points and 0.7 bonus to strength judgment, skills 2-4, savage charge, trample, thick skin. The minimum estimated health points are 11,000 points, and the strength judgment value is equivalent to 185. When launching a savage charge, it is unstoppable, and it will gain another 30 points of strength judgment bonus from the skill. Beasts and demon plants are both deformed occupation templates with extremely powerful attributes, but they all have corresponding defects. The characteristics of this Treacherous are that its strength judgment is very strong, its health is extremely high, and its skin is thick and hard to kill. However, its lack of speed is its biggest weakness. It stands to reason that 30 points of agility is equivalent to several times the speed of ordinary people in the psychic age, which is completely enough. But with a huge size of Treacherous, 30 points of agility is completely insufficient. With such a huge body, even 100 points of agility may not be enough to perform various flexible movements. The Deteran lowered its head and launched a savage charge. The ground shook violently, like beating a drum, and large chunks of soil were blown away by the Deteran's hoofs. Its speed was getting faster and faster. On the charge path, Bai Pu was like a fully loaded heavy truck crashing into a small stone. Bai Pu launched a gangbu, and the thunder sound exploded under his feet. He moved more than 10 meters sideways at the last moment and avoided the charge. Boom! The 2 hind legs of the Deteran stretched forward, leaving a break belt of more than 10 meters on the ground, and the soil was plowed and piled into hills. Bai Pu suddenly touched the ground with his toes, and the second stage of the gangbu was launched. A bloody gangfang rose from his feet and flew to the back of the Deteran. At this time, the Deteran was still breaking, and Bai Pu's sword stabbed out. Puchy! The sword pierced the upright fan blades on the back of the Deteran, which was the weak point of the Deteran's defense. Bai Pu held the sword with both hands and tried to lift it upwards. The blades were split open and the cartilage tissues were cut in half. The Deteran roared in pain, raised half of its body high, and fell heavily. Trampled. The strong shock wave spread out, and Bai Pu felt a strong wind coming, as if to knock him back. However, Bai Pu directly activated the ultimate skill of the wind blade on the back of the Deteran. The blood-colored wind wrapped around his body played a control-free role. Bai Pu jumped high with the help of the wind, and then fell like a meteorite. He held the sword in front of him with both hands, and with the momentum of falling, he stabbed the sword into the back of the Deteran. Such an attack also broke the damage reduction of the thick skin of the Deteran, and the chainsaw sword went straight into the handle. Chapter 398 Enslaving the Beast. For ordinary people, a chainsaw sword piercing deep into the handle would definitely be a serious injury to the body. But for a dinosaur that was as big as a moving building, the chainsaw sword's blade was nearly 2 meters long, about the same length as a needle. Although a lot of blood gushed out after the sword pierced him, it was not even a minor injury. However, Bai Pu had not yet activated his secret. The shadow of the mountain collapse secret appeared, and explosive power surged. Bai Pu held the sword with both hands, exhaled and spoke 151 points of offensive power judgment, plus the ability of the mountain collapse secret to destroy the enemy's armor. This sword cut straight along the dinosaur's back muscles, leaving a long bloody wound on the dinosaur's back, and blood flowed wildly. 570. Critical hit, the dinosaur roared in pain. Although Bai Pu was mentally prepared, he still felt helpless when he saw the damage number pop up. This big guy's damage reduction is really strong. 150 points of endurance is a natural barrier in itself, not to mention the damage reduction of thick skin. Bai Pu's sword is enough to kill a level 6 hero class in 1 second, but facing this level 6 behemoth, he can't do it. The ultimate skill of collapsing mountains does not completely ignore the opponent's armor, but destroys part of it. Ignoring the opponent's armor is a special effect of the center area of the ultimate skill of Volcano's Face. It does not mean that every normal attack of Bai Pu has such an effect. Otherwise, every attack is equivalent to true damage, which is too exaggerated. Even the best ultimate skills can't do it. You know, Blood Mist Butcher's Chainsaw Sword itself has 30 points of fixed armor penetration, plus some armor penetration of the ultimate skill of collapsing mountains. Hitting ordinary non-tank hero classes is almost zero armor. However, in the face of 150 points of endurance and the passive skill of thick skin, more than 60% of the damage was still reduced. This sword was hit at the root of the relatively vulnerable back fan blade of the Dimetrodon, so it had a critical hit, otherwise the damage would be reduced by half. Bai Pu did not activate the skill, Fierce Power, of Giant Crocodile's Evil Eye, at this time, and did not have triple critical damage. Because he intended to take this Diplodocus for himself, not to kill it. The Diplodocus roared and rushed forward, paused, and jumped left and right. These actions were all to get rid of Bai Pu on its back. And these instinctive escape actions were the usual actions that Diplodocus had practiced for many years to get rid of small carnivorous dinosaurs. They almost reached the level of instinct skills. Every action was attached with a strong power judgment. People with insufficient strength will only be thrown away. Bai Pu was least afraid of passive power confrontation. He held the fan blade on the back of the Diplodocus tightly with one hand, and held the big sword with the other hand. When the Diplodocus had a gap in its movement, he stabbed it into the bloody wound on the back of the Diplodocus and twisted it fiercely. The Diplodocus let out a shocking roar of pain. No creature likes others to prick their wounds, let alone Bai Pu, who has a power attribute of over 100. That needle has sharp blades on both sides, and will continue to cut the wound of the double-sailed dragon, making it deeper. From a data perspective, the double-sailed dragon could have contracted the muscle groups at the wound and forcibly stopped the bleeding, but now it can't do it. In addition to bearing dozens or hundreds of single-target attack damage from Bai Pu, it is also constantly bearing 10 points of bleeding damage per second. Suddenly, the double-sailed dragon buried its body, charging angrily like a bison, and accelerating. After accelerating to the extreme, the double-sailed dragon suddenly rolled forward. The cartilage of the fan blades on its back tightened up, as if forming 2 rows of serrated blades, trying to cut Bai Pu into several pieces through this forward roll. Bai Pu immediately let go, and with a flash of Gangbu, he flew to a height of more than 10 meters in the air. He did not hesitate to consume the Blood River fighting spirit and launched the second stage of Gangbu. His toes stepped on the ground in the air, and the air under his feet was suddenly compressed, providing a lot of reverse thrust, and continued to rise. After 3 consecutive steps, Bai Pu flew to a height of 40 to 50 meters above the ground, and finally avoided the double-sailed dragon's trick of rolling forward. Yuan Yu secretly cheered. Bai Pu's move was so cool. But she didn't dare to speak. As early as when the double-sailed dragon rushed over and Bai Pu jumped on the back of the double-sailed dragon, Yuan Yu was very clever to slip away. She activated the stealth skill attached to the cloak, turned into a shadow and hid aside to watch the battle. The double-sailed dragon twisted its head and looked back at the ground plowed by its forward roll, trying to find the enemy's body in the pool of blood. However, it didn't find it. The pool of blood was its own. Before the double-sailed dragon could react, Bai Pu had already swooped down in the air, like a hawk swooping down, and landed on the back of the double-sailed dragon again, stabbing it fiercely with a sword, and then activating the mountain collapse secret, cutting across. 1 vertical and 1 horizontal, a terrible cross-shaped bloody wound was left on the back of the double-sailed dragon, and blood flowed happily again. Then Bai Pu once again clasped the fan blades on the back of the double-sailed dragon, and attacked the wound with a single-handed sword. No matter how the double-sailed dragon ran or jumped, it could not avoid it. As the blood flowed, its strength was constantly disappearing, and a feeling of fear surged. This tiny insect was too scary. Even if it repeated the forward roll again, it could not get rid of it, and it would only add another wound to its body. The double-sailed dragon roared, slowed down, and lowered its head. Bai Pu was delighted. He originally thought that the double-sailed dragon would only be obedient if it was beaten to a state of severe injury. Unexpectedly, after only more than 3,000 outputs, the double-sailed dragon could not bear it and showed a willingness to reconcile. If the double-sailed dragon would rather die than surrender, Bai Pu might not be able to take it down. Because every time Bai Pu caused more than hundreds of points of damage to the double-sailed dragon, he had to rely on the secret of collapsing mountains, and to avoid the double-sailed dragon's forward roll, he needed to perform gangbu continuously. This consumption of Blood River's fighting spirit was terrifying. Fortunately, Dimetrodon itself was not a dinosaur with a bad temper. After it found that its opponent was not easy to deal with, it naturally chose to reconcile with Bai Pu, begging Bai Pu to stop fighting. Bai Pu squeezed a drop of pure blood from his fingertips and dripped it into the wound on Dimetrodon's back. Dimetrodon's body stiffened immediately, and its will and the evolutionary instincts of pure blood began to fight. However, Dimetrodon had admitted defeat and its will to fight was weak. In addition, Bai Pu's enhanced hero template suppressed it, so it was still safe this time. The pure blood took effect and turned Dimetrodon into Bai Pu's slave. To be precise, it was a mount. Alice, if I had known earlier, I would not have been so harsh. Bai Pu looked at his new mount, the huge cross-shaped wounds and the bloodstains on its back, and shook his head. What else can he do? Take out the first aid ointment to treat it. Fortunately, the Dimetrodon itself has thick skin and flesh, and its endurance is as high as 150 points. Now it still has more than 7,000 health points left, which can be said to be quite healthy, so this injury is not a problem. If you're listening to this novel on a channel other than Fanfic World, it means they downloaded and uploaded it without effort. We cordially invite you to visit our channel, Mundo Fanfic Novelis. There you'll find the original version of this story and you can explore many other novels of various genres. We're waiting for you to immerse yourself in a world of incredible novels. Chapter 399. Woohoo, so cool. Sister Yuanayu, come out. Bai Pu called out. Yuanayu saw that Bai Pu was busy applying medicine to the double-sailed dragon. Knowing that the fight was over, she withdrew her invisibility and trotted to the feet of the double-sailed dragon. In a few seconds, she climbed and jumped onto the back of the double-sailed dragon, helping Bai Pu pull the bandage and bandage the double-sailed dragon. The double-sailed dragon twisted its head, and seemed a little reluctant to let Yuanayu climb on its back. Be honest, I'll help you stop the bleeding. Yuanayu tied a bow on the fan blades on the back of the double-sailed dragon. The double-sailed dragon's little eyes were full of grievances. With its strong vitality, as long as Bai Pu did not continue to attack its wound, it would soon be able to squeeze the wound muscle group to stop the bleeding, and it would not take long for the cross wound on the surface of the skin to heal and scab. Bai Pu walked to the top of the double-sailed dragon's head, squatted down and patted its big head. Is there anything special around here? As he spoke, Bai Pu's mental power filaments radiated out and connected with the double-sailed dragon. The spiritual attribute of the Deterol is also 30 points, and it has a high level of intelligence, but it can't speak. Because of this, it correctly judged that it was no match for the terrible human in front of it, and took the initiative to stop attacking and request reconciliation. However, it did not expect that Bai Pu had the means of pure blood enslavement, and its request to stop attacking became a breakthrough for the pure blood to crush its will to resist. While asking questions, Bai Pu closed his eyes and received the message sent by the Deterol on the spiritual level. During this time, Bai also rushed over. Seeing that Bai Pu actually controlled such a giant beast, even the introverted Bai was quite interested and touched the scales on the surface of the Deterol. Not long after, Bai Pu stood up. How is it? Yu asked. Not bad. The information received from this big guy is that there is a very hot mountain in the area west of the Hanggu Plain and further west of the swamp. Living near the mountain are strong dinosaur tribes, most of which are carnivorous. The weak dinosaur tribes dare not compete for living space there. Bai Pu said. So, that hot mountain may be related to the authority of the border. Yuanayu's eyes lit up and she analyzed. The dinosaurs compete for the living space near the hot mountain, which means that the psychic particles there are very rich, which is very beneficial to the growth and evolution of spiritual creatures. And where the psychic particles are rich, there is a high possibility of the control authority of the border. Yubei handed over the psychic camera silently and clicked the virtual light screen. There was a voice-to-text message sent by Yuantang on it. Gangson, I have reunited with a blood spider and found a team of foreigners. They are not weak, but their attitude is not friendly. Come and help. Just 1 minute later, Yuantang sent a second message, "No need to come, the blood spider has been solved." Yuan Yu's mouth twitched. Tengyun thinks that the opponent is not weak, but the blood spider solved it in 1 minute. Yubei didn't say anything, just looked at Bai Pu. Well, the strength of the blood spider has also improved rapidly. This can be regarded as a result of accumulated strength. After understanding the secret of space cutting, blood spider probably did not stop studying the book, The Biography of Floating World and Void Flow Sword Art. He went to the spirit world twice recently. Although he stayed there for less than 10 days each time, he must have used the monsters in the spirit world to verify his understanding. Maybe he even understood another secret skill, Floating World Bubble Shadow. Facing some ordinary geniuses, such as Zhuanpin, Longshan, etc., there is no pressure to defeat them. Bai Pu sent a voice message. Team leader, you and Blood Spider go to the southwest. The approximate coordinates are. Deputy Team Leader Yuantang and Blood Spider are now located in the southwest direction of the Scorching Mountain. With the action target already determined, Bai Pu does not plan to reunite. He takes Yuan Yu and the other two to the Scorching Mountain. The double-sailed dragon carries 3 people and strides forward. The straight-line running speed of this giant beast is still very fast, because its stride is very large, and one step can catch up with dozens of steps of ordinary reptiles, which makes up for the defect of slow footsteps caused by low agility. Especially after Bai Pu injected pure blood, he added the attribute to its agility, which increased its agility to 42 points, and further improved its straight-line running speed. The scenery along the way was spectacular. The majestic karst landforms, the strange peaks and rocks, and the gurgling water formed a bright silver ribbon, dotted between the green grassland and the blue sky. Occasionally, you can see dinosaurs of various shapes, including armored and thorny stegosaurus, and groups of triceratops that look like rhinos. Bai Pu also saw a huge, long-necked and long-tailed brontosaurus. That brontosaurus is a template for strengthening the leader level, but its attributes are comparable to those of the humanoid lord, and its survivability is much higher than that of the humanoid lord. Of course, this is a deformed strength. The brontosaurus attacks slowly, and the weakness of being easily avoided still exists. In terms of attack efficiency, it is far inferior to the fully armed humanoid lord like Gustav. No matter how high the attack power is, it is useless if you can't hit the enemy, and you can only output to the air. Of course, when facing a thunder dragon, the awakened must be careful everywhere and avoid attacks throughout the process. If hit by such a behemoth, half of their lives will probably be gone. When passing by the swamp, 1 or 2 mud beasts occasionally crawled out, perhaps sensing the breath of Bai Pu and others, and surrounded them one after another. Bai Pu didn't need to take action. The high-spire Demetritus, with its thick hooves as thick as pillars, fell down and directly crushed the mud beast. The mud beast's energy siphon, suffocating embrace and other skills could not do anything to the Demetritus. Some prehistoric giant insects also drilled out from the ground, and were also scared by the Demetritus and fled in all directions. Woohoo, it's so cool! Yuan Yu shouted, holding Bai Pu's arm tightly with both hands. As the Demetritus ran at high speed, the 2 round wounds bounced back and forth. Bai Pu, who was full of blood and vigor, was a little distracted. If it weren't for Yubei. Bai Pu coughed lightly and restrained his harmonious thoughts. Soon, the Demetritus crossed the swamp and entered a green mountain range. This mountain range is home to many prehistoric ferns, all of which are very tall. The psychic camera intelligently named it a giant fern mountain range. The Deteran slowed down its pace and nibbled on the giant fern plants next to it to restore its strength. Suddenly, it raised its head, and the fan leaves on its back opened, revealing a vigilant look. Rustle! A velociraptor pushed aside the thick fern leaves and popped its head out. This velociraptor was more than 1 meter tall, like a large dog, and compared to the huge size of the Deteran, it looked very small. However, when the Deteran saw it, it took a cautious step back. If it weren't for Bai Pu, its master, it would have run away. This velociraptor only has an ordinary template, how could it scare the Deteran? Yuan Yu was curious. Velociraptors live in groups. Bai Pu replied, and the next second he saw one velociraptor after another emerging from the giant fern jungle. Chapter 400, Tragic Claws. Dozens of velociraptors, eyes emitting faint green light, emerged from different angles and quietly surrounded, obviously intending to hunt the Demetrodon that had entered their territory. This place was close to the Scorching Mountain, and was considered an outer area. Only strong tribes could have a place here. In the eyes of these velociraptors, this Dimetrodon had mistakenly entered a place it shouldn't have been in, and death was the price of its mistake. Bai Pu gently patted the Dimetrodon's back. Don't panic. The Dimetrodon stopped retreating, lowered its body, and stared at the front with its two small eyes cautiously. Steel Heart, there is a team approaching. Yubei's eyes showed blue and white, and the long-range detection ability blue and white eyes had been activated. Do you know it? Bai Pu asked. Yubei nodded slightly. One of the opponents you met in the college competition. It's okay. Bai Pu said calmly. This calmness came from Bai Pu's strength that was further improved after he entered level 6. At this time, the group of velociraptors had already begun to attack. One after another, the raptors leaped and rushed to the side of the Dimetrodon, pretending to pounce on it. Most of the raptors' actions were to attract the attention of the Dimetrodon, causing it to panic and making it easier for the truly powerful individuals to launch a fatal attack. These raptors ignored the 3 humans sitting on the back of the Dimetrodon. They paid a price for this. A larger elite raptor made a routine jump, and when the Dimetrodon had no time to dodge, it suddenly turned in the air and landed on the back of the Dimetrodon. Snap! The elite raptor opened its front claws, like 3 diamond-made craft knives. It slashed with its hands, and 3 bloody marks appeared on the fan blades on the back of the Dimetrodon. The Dimetrodon instinctively wanted to leap and hide it, and throw off the small enemy on its back. But Bai Pu calmed it down. Da-da! The Yuan-Yu double guns opened fire, bursting 2 shallow blood holes in the membrane of the elite raptor, causing it to retreat one after another. Yubei lowered his body and rushed forward, with a short sword in his sleeve suddenly flashing a cold green light. The velociraptor was hit back by the bullets, and when it lost its footing, it was directly slashed by the hidden sword, blood was splattered, and it was blown away. Swish, swish, swish. Da-da-da. As the velociraptor flew backwards, Yubei shot one flying knife after another, accompanied by Yuan-Yu's bullets, and beat it into a tattered corpse in midair. Blood rained. The diaphanous dragon suddenly became bolder. It originally resisted Yuan-Yu and Yubei's 2 passengers, but now that it found that the 2 passengers could protect its back, its concept changed instantly, and it wished that Yuan-Yu and Yubei would continue to ride it. Ank! The 2 front limbs of the diaphanous dragon stood up and suddenly fell down. Trampling. A strong shock wave spread out, and the 2 velociraptors around the front limbs were trampled into cripples, and the shock wave shook the rest of the velociraptors away. After all, it is a leader-level creature. Although it is at the bottom of the food chain, it is still not comparable to these elite and ordinary velociraptors in terms of priority in a tribute confrontation. However, before the treacherous could be proud, a nimble black shadow suddenly jumped up, took advantage of the force on a giant fern leaf and jumped again. At a speed that was difficult to see with the naked eye, it flew to the side of the treacherous, and tore off a long piece of skin and flesh from the side of the treacherous like tearing paper. The treacherous roared in pain and pulled out its long tail quickly. But the black shadow was extremely fast. After tearing off the skin and flesh, it stepped on the air in midair, turned around and avoided the whip of the long tail, and landed on the leaf of a giant fern. Not only the treacherous, but even Yuan-Yu and Yubei, did not have time to react. At this time, the black shadow stopped, and Bai Pu threw a 9 chapters over. Cruel Claw, Level 6 Leader, Race, Beast Land Beast, Attributes, Strength 68, Agility 133, Stamina 72, Spirit 20, Skill 1, Sharp Claw, Passive, Cruel Claw's claws are extremely sharp, with 50, Fixed Armor Penetration, Skill 2, Super Speed Kill. Cruel Claw gains additional attack power and armor penetration when moving at high speeds, and the value is proportional to its speed. Skill 3, This dinosaur named Cruel Claw is the leader of the Velociraptor group, with a pair of small eyes flashing with fierce light. When the Diplodocus saw Cruel Claw appear, the pride that had just risen in the Diplodocus immediately disappeared, and it turned around and was about to run. Can you outrun it? Bai Pu's words made the Diplodocus stop. Just rush forward, I'll kill this guy. Bai Pu stood up. He originally thought that relying on Yubei and Yuan-Yu would be enough to protect the Diplodocus from rushing through this Velociraptor territory, but now he had to take action. The Deuteron rushed forward with its head down. One by one, the Velociraptors leaped and jumped around the Deuteron. This was their usual tactic, distracting the prey's attention, and then their leader suddenly rushed out to make a desperate attack. Yuanio and Yubei continued to attack from a distance to prevent the velociraptors from pouncing on them. Bai Pu, who had been sitting, had already stood up. He held the big sword in one hand. His movement seemed lazy, but in fact, he was like a cheetah hunting. He had been highly alert and his mental power covered the surrounding area for dozens of meters. Swish! The leader of the velociraptors, Miserable Claw, took advantage of the cover of other velociraptors and leaped up again. When passing by the Deteran's side, he popped out his right claw and stabbed it into the Deteran's side ribs. Once it was stabbed by its claws, it would definitely tear off a piece of flesh from the Deteran's side again with the impact of super speed killing. If Bai Pu hadn't been there, it wouldn't have taken Kangxu long to kill the Diplodocus, and the process would have been extremely bloody, like a slow slicing. The bleeding alone would have been enough to kill this giant with 11,000 HP. Bai Pu's eyes suddenly became sharp. Although he was far less agile than Kangxu, he calculated the landing point and time of Kangxu's attack on the Diplodocus in an instant based on Kangxu's speed and sprint angle. After the calculation, Bai Pu raised his hand directly. The lasso attack was prejudged. The Blood River fighting spirit turned into an energy lasso, encircling Kangxu's body, and then Bai Pu pulled it hard, and Kangxu was pulled in front of Bai Pu like a meteor. The special effect of suppressing the mind made Kangxu unable to move at all, and Bai Pu chopped it off with a mountain collapsing special effect. With a loud bang, half of Kangxu's body was chopped off, and blood, broken bones, and internal organs flowed all over the ground. 1426. Critical hit, triggering the instant kill effect. This powerful velociraptor leader was killed instantly by Bai Pu's one skill and one sword. The process was simple, so simple that it was unbelievable. But the premise was that, lasso strike, could hit 133 points of agility, and the claws in the super speed killing state. If it weren't for Bai Pu, 10 tank-type awakeners would never be able to catch it. End of this chapter. Thank you very much for reaching the end. Don't forget to like. Looking for more exclusive content and immediate access? Subscribe to our Patreon. Remember, every like, subscription, or donation encourages us to continue. Thanks to everyone. See you in the next video.